Chapter 229, The Bribed Imperial Butler. Yi Wanwan looked at Su Yi with glistening eyes. It's almost time to form an alliance. Under Su Yi's terrified gaze, Yi Wanwan spoke frankly, Housekeeper Su, I don't want to hide this from you anymore. Everything I'm doing right now is definitely to preserve my life, but I'm not just concerned about my life, I'm also trying to help you. I know Si Han entrusted you with all matters concerning me, and if anything happened to me, the first person he'd blame would be you. So, why don't we work together? Su Yi looked at this girl who had seemingly undergone a transformation and his expression changed slightly. Work together? What do you mean? Yi Wanwan narrowed her eyes. I don't want to make the same mistakes I made before in Jean Garden. Regarding someone as unpredictable and violent as Si Han, you've been by his side for many years and you know his limits best. If you drop some hints during critical moments to prevent me from provoking him, I think this would be beneficial for the both of us. What do you think? Yi Wanwan's idea seemed alright, but it scared Su Yi at the same time. Isn't this being a traitor? This Yi Wanwan is too bold. Yi Wanwan looked at Su Yi, easily reading his mind. She murmured casually, don't look like that. Firstly, I'm not asking you to reveal any top secrets, and secondly, I'm not asking you to do anything that would harm your master. Even if Si Han found out, it wouldn't impact you in any way. Yi Wanwan then paused to gather her thoughts, then continued speaking, gazing off into the distance. Furthermore, I might become the matriarch of the Si family in future, meaning I'll become your future master. Up until now, I'm the only woman Si Han has brought to meet the old madam. If you ever provoke Si Han by accident or get yourself in trouble, I'll be able to blow the pillow. 1. To put in some good words for you, allowing you to keep your place and live a worry-free life. Even if I fall out with Si Han one day, I'll make sure not to cause any trouble during your shift. Upon hearing what Yi Wanwan said, Su Yi was stunned once again. Not just stunned, he was totally flabbergasted. This woman really knows how to stir up one's emotions with her lies. There was a split second there when I was really moved. It's just, why do I have the strange feeling that I'm like an imperial butler being bribed by the emperor's favorite concubine? Housekeeper Su, do think about it, alright? Yi Wanwan then got out of the car. If it was Lu Ying, she wouldn't have considered making a proposal like this to him. But Su Yi was different. Su Yi was tactful and smooth in managing social relations, and he was also Si Han's right-hand man. If she could get Su Yi's assistance, her days would go a lot easier. Su Yi sat in the driver's seat in a daze, watching as Yi Wanwan walked away and pondered. After she departed, Yi Wanwan found her way to her uncle's mansion, relying on her memory. She stood at the entrance for a long time and decided to sneak in quietly from the back door of the little garden. She didn't want to shock them with her sudden appearance, so she decided she would only observe them from afar to see how they were doing. But the moment she entered, she suddenly spotted the familiar figure of her mother. Yi Wanwan rushed to hide behind the trees instinctively and carefully peered in the direction of her mother through the gaps. All she saw was her mom's face, once youthful and radiant, now aged many years. She was so skinny that it looked like a gust of wind could blow her away. At the moment, she was carrying a large basket of clothes and hanging them outside to dry. Yi Wanwan knew from a single glance that those weren't just her parents' clothes. The pink item was obviously Liang Shihan's dress, and that royal blue suit and long bright red skirt probably belonged to her uncle and auntie. Chapter 230. Outsiders. Is mom actually washing the clothes for uncle's entire family? Yi Wanwan furrowed her brows. Then, she heard footsteps approaching. She saw a voluptuous woman with big wavy hair walking out of the house, clutching a pink skirt. She walked towards her mother and said unhappily, Jijia, why is my skirt like this? Her mother turned and glanced at the woman, then looked at the skirt in her hands, looking somewhat surprised. Why is there a snagged thread? Did you wash it using the washing machine? Wanwan's auntie, Fang Xiumin, asked with an ugly expression. I asked you and you said it was machine washable, so I put it in. Fang Xiumin screamed in agitation suddenly. How could it be machine washable? This is real silk. I was probably helping Henin with her homework at the time and didn't hear you properly, so I just blurted out a reply. But Jie, you used to wear nice clothes all the time. How is it that you can't differentiate between clothing materials now? Liang Wanjun looked slightly embarrassed. I'm sorry, I've been staying up late trying to rush customers' handmade orders recently and my vision is a bit blurry now. Tell me how much it costs and I'll pay you back. Fang Xiumin looked at the piece of clothing in her hands with a heartbroken expression and said mockingly, it's over 10,000, how are you going to pay? You wouldn't be able to afford one of these even if you sold 100 of those cheap things you're making. Xiao Ting and I don't have much money at the moment, but when Mu Fan comes back, with an annoyed expression and flash of disdain in her eyes, Fang Xiumin waved her arm as if to ward off bad luck and said with a faux generous smile, forget it, with the miserable income that he brings in, he doesn't make enough to meet your living expenses every month, right? Don't worry about paying for this skirt, otherwise, Jia Hao would think that I'm giving Jie trouble. At this moment, a pretty girl wearing a ladylike dress walked out of the house. Her gaze swept over Liang Wanjun slowly. Auntie, you should hand wash every single piece of clothing in the future, in case you ruin anything else. Also, the washing machine's too loud and noisy, how can I study with that thing going on? Fang Xiumin looked at her precious daughter and walked over anxiously. Baby girl, what are you doing outside? You should be focusing on your studies right now. Fang Xiumin then turned to Yuanwan's mother, looking upset and apologetic. Jie, I'm so sorry, Henin's going to have her college entrance exam soon. It can't be too noisy or else she'll be distracted. We'll have to trouble Jie to hand wash all the clothes for the time being. We did have a nanny at home before and didn't need Jie to do all this housework, but our family's gotten bigger and the expenses are high, so I had to fire the nanny. I have to take care and help Henin with her studies, so I really don't have the time to do any of this, so sorry for troubling you. Jie, you don't mind, right? Liang Wanjun pursed her lips, it's nothing, let me handle it. Anyway, she didn't want to eat and live for free either and was willing to help with the washing and cooking since they all fell within her range of abilities. Liang Shihan frowned when she heard that. Mom, why are you being so nice to her? She eats and lives here for free, she uses our stuff for free. So what if we're just asking her to wash a few pieces of clothing? I hate having outsiders in our house, it's so annoying. Fang Xiumin hurriedly soothed her, be good, darling. I'll get her to stay away and avoid bothering you. Focus on preparing for your exams and don't get distracted. Please don't become like your cousin. Liang Shihan gave her a look of disdain. Mom, are you kidding? How could you compare me with Yuanwan? Chapter 231, Charity for Idlers. Fang Xiumin looked at her beautiful and amazing daughter and said proudly, yes, mommy's wrong. My daughter's so beautiful and amazing, when you get into imperial media, I'll get your father to ask your Aunt Mei Xian for an internship at Emperor Sky. Really? Can I really intern at Emperor Sky? Liang Shihan's face was filled with excitement. Of course, the president's wife of Yi Group is your aunt, all she has to do is say the word. The two of them spoke freely without regard to Liang Wanjun at all. If Yi Wanwan was able to hear their conversation, Liang Wanjun could definitely hear them as well. Yi Wanwan saw clearly that when her mother heard her name being mentioned, her mother's face turned pale immediately. TSK, Liang Shihan calls Liang Mei Xian her aunt. Before Dad lost his power, Fang Xiumin treated Liang Mei Xian as an illegitimate daughter, but now she's become Liang Shihan's close aunt. Liang Shihan was still discontent and acted like a spoiled kid, but when she heard the engine of a car coming from the front, she suddenly smiled and walked over happily. Dad, you're home. Yi Wanwan followed the gaze of Liang Shihan. Uncle Liang Jia Hao's back. Hubby, you're finally back. You've been working very hard. The cute and helpless-looking Fang Xiumin went over and helped him with his bag. Having his pretty wife and cute daughter welcoming him home after work, Liang Jia Hao was delighted. What are the two of you doing out in the yard? I'm helping Jie hang the clothes. Fang Xiumin replied shamelessly. Liang Wanjun seemed accustomed to Fang Xiumin being two-faced, but she didn't want to impact her younger brother's relationship with his wife, so she stayed silent and glanced in the direction of the car worriedly. Then she asked her younger brother, Jie, where's your brother-in-law? He didn't come back with you. I thought he said he would come home to rest early since it's the weekend. Liang Jiahao replied, slightly uneasily, there's quite a bit of work at the company lately, so brother-in-law has to work overtime. Liang Wenjun was worried about her husband's health and became anxious. You know your brother-in-law's health isn't good, why didn't you try to convince him otherwise and let him overexert himself? Liang Jiahao felt somewhat guilty and was at a loss for words. He was actually not adept at managing the company at all. Furthermore, Feng Xiumin kept nagging him to use his brother-in-law for free labor in order to make up for the free room and board, so he simply delegated all the work to him. When Feng Xiumin heard these words, she raised her brows and spoke at the top of her voice, Jie, I can't believe what you just said. Brother-in-law embezzled public funds and was notorious for his actions. If we didn't let him work in the company, which company would hire him? Since he's working for us, obviously, he has to work hard. The company isn't a charity for idlers. Others work overtime, so why can't he do the same? Is he the boss? Feng Xiumin turned to Liang Jiahao with an aggrieved and heartbroken expression. Jiahao, I didn't want to speak up because I respect her as your older sister, but what Jie said was simply too mean. Not only do you have to support her, you have to support her husband as well. You didn't even take a single cent from them ever since they moved in and even gave brother-in-law a job, but now, Jie is standing here acting so entitled and demanding so much from you. How are we going to continue living together as a family? Liang Shihan chimed in angrily, Auntie, how could you say this? You're living with us and eating our food, yet you have the guts to scold my father, how ungrateful. If you can't tolerate this, then move out. Why are you still here, disturbing our peace? Chapter 232, The Kind of Wealth Fit for an Entire Nation. Liang Jiahao frowned. Henin, how could you speak to your auntie like that? And Xiumin, you shouldn't spout nonsense. It's the truth. I'm not saying anything wrong, yet daddy's scolding me. Liang Shihan, in complete disbelief from being reprimanded, ran away crying. Liang Jiahao, feeling the guilt from scolding his precious baby girl, turned to his sister helplessly. Jia, I've already done everything I could. Everyone in this family is relying on me and I'm under a lot of pressure. This is the best I could do. While Yu Wanwan took in this scene, a frenzy of anger bubbled in her chest. Great. Liang Jiahao, you're great. Feng Xiumin, you're just great. Her parents helped this family so much, they even loved Liang Shihan like their own daughter, and her dad was the one who provided the funds and connections for Liang Jiahao's little company. Even the house they're living in now was once part of Dad's estate. Everything the Liang family has right now was provided for them by her parents. Now that Dad's lost his power, this is how that family treats him. Liang Jiahao watched his own wife and daughter humiliating Mom, yet he didn't say a word in defense. In the yard, after Liang Jiahao went into the house, only her mother was left standing there alone. She knew that with her mother's character, no matter how much the Yi family bullied her, she'd keep everything bottled up and wouldn't tell a soul about it. With their current financial situation, it was too expensive to live elsewhere, so all her mother could do was continue tolerating the abuse. Yi Wanwan clenched her fists and watched from behind the tree. After a very long time, her mother slowly bent down and continued working with the clothes, hanging each piece up, one by one. Watching her mother's thin and sad figure, Yi Wanwan really wanted to rush over to her side. But what can I do even if I run over to her? Other than crying and begging Mom for forgiveness, other than letting her know how terrible I've been living, other than making her worry, I can't do anything else. I have to quickly get Mom and Dad out of this place. And not let them suffer a moment longer. Previously, she stubbornly maintained her image in front of Gu Yuze and spent the money her father had given her, using it to buy beautiful but useless things. Right now, I need money, lots and lots of it. Not just money to buy a house for Mom and Dad, not just money for them to live a good life, but the kind of wealth fit for an entire nation. The kind of wealth that could even allow me to gain freedom from Siyihan. Once my wealth has accumulated to a certain point, I'll have limitless power and connections. I'd have it all. She knew that with her current situation, it'd be as hard as touching the skies for her to make a comeback. Yi would probably use everything in her power to stop her too. I need a partner who could contend against Emperor Sky. As the saying goes, the enemy of your enemy is your friend. Right now, the best choice would be Emperor Sky's archenemy, Worldwide Entertainment. However, why would a big company like Worldwide work with a nobody like me? I don't have the capital needed to make Worldwide consider working with me. Thankfully, the chance I've been waiting for will soon be here. Yuan concealed all these feelings, took out her phone and read the latest bit of news about a popular artist from Worldwide on her radar. Chapter 233, Monitor me closely. Not far from the villa, just as Sui mentally prepared for his own death, he finally saw Yuan walking out from the yard. He was so emotional, like he'd finally seen the light on Judgment Day. Yuan pulled the car door open and sat inside. One look at Suyi's expression and she knew what he was thinking. Yuan laughed, "Housekeeper Su, I've said it before, even if I cause trouble, I wouldn't do it on your shift. I'll definitely keep my word." Sui was quite touched after hearing that. He coughed lightly, "Miss Yi, it's great that you've thought things through, but I really can't agree to your request. As long as you know your place, I think Master won't make things hard for you." Yuan replied, terrified, "This isn't an issue of whether or not he'll make things difficult for me. With my current status, it's just hard for me to gain a footing in the C family. You should know this." In her past life, after Siyihan found out she ran away with Gu Yuze, he immediately dragged her to the civil administration office to register for their marriage and announced her status in front of the entire C family. What followed was naturally a unanimous objection from everybody. Yuan sighed, "It's fine, I know it's hard for you. In the C house, you're the nicest to me and I'm not an ungrateful person, so just think I'm returning the favor." Sui felt somewhat guilty after hearing that. Although his actions weren't as intense as Lu Ying's, he also hated and rejected Yuan and was prejudiced against her. Sui hesitated for a long while before finally relenting, "How do you want me to help you?" Seeing that Sui was convinced, Yuan spoke carefully, "Actually, it's very simple. I just need you to monitor Siyihan for me, like what he's doing to me. Take note of when it's inconvenient for me to interrupt, which days he's in a bad mood, what his likes and dislikes are, which girl he's close with, like Miss Qin Ruoshi for instance. She likes your master, right?" Yuan babbled on quite a bit, but actually, the main point she wanted to get to was, Qin Ruoshi, her number one enemy. Everything she said sounded fine until Sui heard the last sentence. Beads of cold sweat formed and he said, "Miss Yi, I can help you with some of those things, but my hands are tied regarding Miss Ruoshi. How could I ever leak Master's personal matters? And this is related to Miss Ruoshi." "Got it, thanks, Housekeeper Su. Qin Ruoshi definitely isn't someone I can easily shake up." But Yuan was already very satisfied with his answer. After Sui dropped off Yuan at Jean Garden, he reported to Siyihan upstairs. "Master, I already drove Miss Yi to her uncle's place, but she only stayed there for about 10 minutes before leaving." "Got it, anything else?" Seeing that Sui hadn't immediately left after his report, Siyihan looked up from his documents. Sui looked guilty with a gaze which seemed to be able to penetrate one's thoughts. Finally, he couldn't hold it in and said, "Miss Yi asked me for a favor." "What favor?" She hopes that I can monitor you for her." "Monitor me?" Siyihan's eyes lit up. "Yes. But it's nothing much, she's just afraid of provoking you, so she wants me to tell her things such as your likes and dislikes, and also whether," Sui swallowed and continued nervously, "also which girl you're close with, especially." "Miss Ruoshi." Miss Yi said that Miss Ruoshi seems to be interested in you. Judging by Miss Ye's attitude, she seems to have some hostility towards Miss Ruoshi. In front of the desk, Siyihan's expression was unreadable. After a long period of silence, he finally said one word, Suyi's heart was beating hard. What does he mean by, Siyihan glanced at him and said, "Monitor me closely." Sui. Chapter 234. As fat as a pig. Su Yi's tears ended up flowing like a river as he left the room. Imagine me feeling so guilty for a second, troubled with trying to please both sides. In the end, I can't believe Master actually asked me to monitor him closely. Even when the subject of Miss Ruoshi was touched upon, his master didn't seem to be mad at Yi Wanwan at all. I made a serious mistake. How could I forget that Master is now charging full speed towards becoming a complete fool? Following her interaction with Su Yi, Yi Wanwan entered an intense, hellish studying mode in preparation for the exams. Ever since Si Yihan visited the school, not a single blade of grass grew in acres of peach trees. 1. Combined with the stressful school atmosphere for the upcoming exams, her days in school were very peaceful and free of suitors. As for the old Qing Shui who always fought against her, it was as if she'd become another person. On the day Yi Wanwan returned to school, Qing Shui splashed makeup remover oil on her own face and apologized to her in front of all her classmates. Not only did she stop fighting with her, she even seemed to care a lot for her, looking after her in every possible way. An inappropriate way of saying it would be that she treated Yi Wanwan like her own mother and was very filial towards her. Also, every time Shen Mengqi went looking for Wanwan, she'd be driven away by Qing Shui. The great devil's force of deterrence is truly not just on the surface. Yi Wanwan knew what Qing Shui was worried about, but she wasn't born yesterday. She wasn't keen on telling on her to Si Yihan. After a month of Qing Shui feeding her all kinds of snacks, their feud vanished into thin air. Normally when she was at home, Si Yihan wouldn't allow her to eat too much junk food. Also, since she was penniless, Si Yihan filled the house with clothes, makeup and designer bags for her. But he wouldn't give her any money. She could only ask Su Yi to help her buy the things she needed, and Su Yi obviously wouldn't buy junk food for her. How tragic. Very soon, there was only a week left until exams. Before the end of school, the form teacher gave out the exam applications and instructed all the students to bring them home to get their parents to sign them. Yi Wanwan went to the usual spot to wait for Su Yi to pick her up, but Si Xia ended up tailing her to the spot as well. Yi Wanwan was stunned. Why are you following me? Although this guy had been quite well behaved recently, she still didn't dare to put her guard down. Si Xia followed behind unhurriedly. Can't I hitch a ride? When she got up, she realized that Si Yihan was in the back seat. This was probably because he finished work earlier today, so Su Yi picked him up before fetching her. Yi Wanwan sat down and explained, Xiaxia's hitching a ride. She immediately turned to Si Xia and said, sit at the front, it's too squished here. Si Xia looked at the back seat, spacious enough to hold a small meeting, and his eyes widened. He scoffed, who wants to sit in the back? After Yi Wanwan got in, Si Yihan passed her a basket, and inside was a delicate and beautiful strawberry cake. Even though Si Yihan restricted her junk food consumption, he still prepared some desserts for her occasionally to make her happy. When Yi Wanwan saw what was inside, her eyes lit up instantly as she picked it up unabashed and prepared to gobble it whole. For me? Thanks. All throughout the school day, Si Xia watched her eating non-stop. He couldn't believe she was actually pigging out again now. His face turned extremely dark. Eat, eat, eat. Wait till you become as fat as a pig. Yi Wanwan rolled her eyes at him. So what? You think your uncle's as shallow as you? He wouldn't leave me even if I become any fatter. Again, he was being compared to Si Yihan. The veins on Si Xia's forehead popped out. He couldn't hold it in any longer, and suddenly, he sneered, Yi Wanwan, do you really think you're my aunt? The whole Si family, our whole circle, who doesn't know that my ninth aunt is Qin Ruoshi? Chapter 235. Do whatever she pleases. The moment Si Xia made that comment, the temperature in the car seemed to drop. However, this time the fury actually came from Yi Wanwan. Si Yihan simply sat there, expressionless. Yi Wanwan clutched the cake box in her hands tightly, and with eyes like daggers, she shot a look over to Si Xia and said carefully, Si Xia. Say that again. Si Xia was stunned for a moment by the girl's icy glare, but then he spat out in anger, sure. I didn't say anything wrong. My ninth aunt is definitely Chin Ruashi. Who do you think you are? Ryip. The paper box tore in Yi Wanwan's grip. In one swift action, she pounced onto Si Xia on the front seat. Yi Wanwan. You have the guts to beat me? Fuck, don't beat my face, stop it. Su Yi, who was driving, watched as the two brats fought. He was on the verge of crying. Young Master Si Xia, Miss Yi, stop fighting, please stop fighting. It's dangerous. Why are you beating me? You can't change the facts even if you beat me to death. My ninth aunt is Chin Ruashi. Say that again. Say that again. Yi Wanwan clawed at him. Let me tell you. I will never let Chin Ruashi become Mrs. C even if I have to feed my conscience to the dogs. The two of them couldn't be stopped. Su Yi was at a loss. At this moment, Yi Wanwan felt an arm reach around her waist. In the next second, the Yi Wanwan who was still shouting, even if I have to feed my conscience to the dogs, was planted onto Si Yihan's lap. Yi Wanwan wanted to charge forward again but was pressed down forcefully. Following this, a voice as deep as a cello resounded next to her ear. Be good, don't insult yourself. Don't call yourself a dog. I wasn't insulting myself. Don't call myself a dog. Yi Wanwan was stunned, then realized what Si Yihan meant. After she realized what he said, her fretful heart seemed to calm down quite a bit. Yi Wanwan lifted her head and said to Si Yihan, "You're not allowed to marry Chin Ruashi. In her past life, this woman nearly drove her crazy and she even killed Great White." Yi Wanwan felt like her emotions had spiraled completely out of control thanks to that brat, Si Xia. She rubbed her forehead and sulked. Forget it, it's your freedom to choose who you want to marry. Si Yihan looked at her with darkened eyes and spoke after a long while. I don't need freedom. Yi Wanwan was a little surprised by his reply. You like being monitored by someone? If I check up on you every day, nag you every day, wouldn't you be annoyed? Si Yihan gently stroked Yi Wanwan's tangled hair from the fight. I wouldn't be. Yi Wanwan wasn't convinced. She pursed her lips and asked again, Then what about when I become successful and powerful? What if I lock you up, not letting you go anywhere, not even letting you see your parents, sending people to follow and monitor you wherever you go and even lock you up in bed, doing anything I please? When Si Yihan heard that, he chuckled. Yi Wanwan's words obviously had a hidden meaning. She was making a complaint against him. Yi Wanwan's face darkened. Why are you laughing? You still have the nerve to laugh. Si Yihan stared at the girl's little face, flushed red in anger. He lowered his head and kissed the corner of her lips. I'm looking forward to that. When Yi Wanwan heard what Si Yihan said, she stared at him with eyes wide open. As for the other two people in the car, Yi Wanwan was completely stunned by a certain pervert. I said it in that weird way on purpose, yet he still looks forward to it. What else I say? Yi Wanwan gave up trying to communicate with Si Yihan. Devastated, she put down the cake she had ruined. Of all things, why did I ruin the cake? My heart hurts. As for the main culprit, he was still demanding to be let off. Sui glanced helplessly to the back seat for instructions. Master. This. Si Yihan replied casually, call Big Brother and tell him that Xia won't be going home tonight. Sui, yes. Si Xia had goosebumps all over when he heard that. He pounded on the window with great force. Si Yihan. What do you want to do with me? Let me off. I want to go back. Si Yihan warned him with a glacial stare. The teacher called today and said the application forms were issued. So what? That has nothing to do with you. Si Xia sneered. Si Yihan ignored Si Xia and continued, which school do you want to go to? I already said this has nothing to do with you. I don't want to go to a university, alright? Si Xia replied, annoyed. Si Yihan nodded, sure. Si Xia was slightly taken aback, really? Si Yihan looked at Wanwan, who was still upset over her cake. I'll get you a new one when we get back. Once he was done soothing Yi Wanwan, he turned back to Si Xia and said, "If you don't want to continue with school, you'll have to get married then." Ma. Married? Si Xia was in complete shock, like he'd just been struck by lightning. "Si Han, are you human? I'm still so young, yet you're so eager to sell me off." Si Xia looked as if he was a little princess being married off by her heartless father. Si Han replied without any expression, "Continue with your studies then. If you can't get into Imperial University this time, I'll arrange a marriage for you the next month." Si Xia, fuck. Revenge. This guy's obviously trying to get revenge. Yi Wanwan rejoiced in Si Xia's misfortune. "Blame your senseless talk. Who asked you to hitch a ride with us?" Jean Garden. Just like that, Si Xia's initial plan to hitch a ride and provoke Si Han was ruined. He ended up at Si Han's place and was even forced to complete the application form. Both Yi Wanwan and Si Xia sat at one corner of the table while Si Han watched over them at the side, like an exam invigilator. Si Xia was forced by Si Han to apply for Imperial University. Yi Wanwan saw the plight that Si Xia was in and felt sorry for him since she was in the same predicament too. She said nervously, "I want to get into Imperial Media University's PR profession, can I apply?" Too far. Si Han rejected her proposal as expected. Yi Wanwan sobbed, "It's not really that far. Anyway, it's still in the city, around 2 to 3 hours away from Jean Garden." It looked like Si Han wasn't going to change his mind. Yi Wanwan made an emotional plea, "I thought you looked forward to me becoming a successful woman. If you keep restricting me from doing this and that, when will I ever grow up? Now, it's going to university, what about next time when I'm going out into society for work or an internship? Are you going to stop me then too? When will it be my turn to do whatever I want to you, every day?" Si Xia, "May I be excused already?" Si Han turned to her, "You don't have to be successful, you can do whatever you want to me right now." Si Xia, "Are you guys listening to what I just said?" Yi Wanwan was so pissed that she took Si Han's hand and bit down on it. "Why are you being so damn annoying? Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon." Frustrated that he couldn't get away, Si Xia decided to stir up some trouble. When he heard what Yi Wanwan said, he nodded in agreement. Right. See? He's just so annoying. He restricts you from doing this and that, there's nobody more annoying than him." Si Han turned towards Si Xia with piercing cold eyes. "Always has been." Si Xia stared at those eyes and continued, but his voice was getting meeker. Si Han left him alone and his gaze landed on the teeth marks on his hand. He then lifted his gaze and looked straight at Yi Wanwan. A strange and deadly silence filled the air. An indefinite amount of time passed before Si Han finally spoke up. "I can let you go free. From today onwards, I can let you do whatever you want without limiting your freedom, without interfering with anything you do, unless these two things happen." Yi Wanwan was in disbelief when she heard the last 3 words. She clenched her fists in anticipation. Which 2 things? Si Han, "First, you beg me voluntarily." Yi Wanwan thought about it seriously and said earnestly, "Then, can you promise not to stand in my way?" Si Han glanced at her, obviously showing her that he wouldn't stand in her way. "I promise." Yi Wanwan looked over at Si Han suspiciously. Since Si Han had promised her, he shouldn't be lying. But what does he mean? Does he look down on me? Does he think that if I rely on myself, I'll definitely have my nose rubbed in dust and will return to beg him for help? What's the second thing? Yi Wanwan held her breath and asked. Si Han, "Secondly, you get hurt." Upon hearing that reply, Yi Wanwan paused for a while. This. To what degree of hurt? To Si Han, she was his most precious possession and naturally, wouldn't allow her to be hurt in any way. Si Han replied blankly, "That's up to me to decide." Yi Wanwan was somewhat speechless. "This is too subjective, isn't it all up to you then? Even if I was bitten by an insect and a small piece of my skin tore off, couldn't that be considered being hurt?" Si Han, depends on my mood. Alright, you're the boss, whatever you say. Thankfully, her sucking up skills her pacifying skills were quite good. Yu Wanwan suppressed her excitement, took a deep breath and said, so, as long as I can prove that I have the ability to handle everything properly and protect myself, then I'm good? Si Han stared at her with a forbidding gaze. If you can't do it, then everything would return to square one and you wouldn't get a second chance. Yu Wanwan gritted her teeth. Fine. It's a deal. There will come a day when I'll be the master instead. Si Han saw the radiance from the dazzling stars in the girl's eyes. Don't get too ahead of yourself, I still have some requests. What other requests? Yu Wanwan asked carefully. I knew it wouldn't be so easy. Si Han spoke as he took out a document and placed it in front of her. Perform all the requests I listed here. If you violate any of them, everything I said before will be nullified. Yu Wanwan picked up the document and briefly looked through it. In the agreement, it stated, no smoking, no drinking, no fighting, no going home late, no speaking to strangers, must reply to all messages, no eating junk food, no looking at the opposite sex, no looking for a change of someone better. You call these a few requests? There are at least 100. How did he even come up with so many requests? She saw that no drinking was emphasized specifically. She wasn't sure why these two words were enlarged and in bold. Was this a mistake by the typesetting? Why did he enlarge and bold these two words? Shouldn't he have enlarged and bolded the words, looking for a change of someone better? Also, what the hell does he mean by no fighting? Does a weak girl like me look like I can fight? Although there were really so many requests that her eyes were going blurry, being able to do whatever she wanted freely was worth it. Initially, she was prepared to throw a tantrum, but the outcome today was undoubtedly the best she could have expected. Sure. Whatever you say. You're the best. I love you the most. Yu Wanwan, who had just bitten him and said she hated him, suddenly had a 180-degree change in her attitude. Si Xia, who failed terribly in his mission to stir up trouble, was completely dumbfounded. Why? How did everything end up like this? It wasn't just Si Xia who was shocked, even Su Yi, standing at the side, was shocked. It had been a whole 2 years. No matter how bad Yu Wanwan's tantrums were, he never let her go. Although her freedom came at a price now, the master seemed to have finally relented. A little girl like her who hasn't even graduated from high school, who messed up all her relationships at home, who had all her clothes and food provided for her the past 2 years, who always has countless bodyguards and servants. How could she survive, being left to her own devices so suddenly? Could it be that master changed his tactics and wanted her to experience some hardships in the real world in order to make her stay by his side voluntarily? Si Xia stood up all of a sudden. Yu Wanwan, was your brain eaten by pigs? You're willing to agree to such unfair terms of slavery? Yu Wanwan was afraid that he'd wreck the matter that she tried so hard to settle, so she immediately shot him a look. I just love to sell myself to my baby, so what? Bastard. Always trying to stir up trouble for me, he's really asking for a beating. Si Han looked at her. Who's your baby? Yu Wanwan immediately said sweetly, obviously my baby's you. This is a nickname for lovers. At this moment, the teenager felt so disturbed that he started questioning his life purpose. Why does it feel like not only did I fail in stirring up trouble, but I even helped her in her attack? Si Xia gritted his teeth and interrupted the two disrespectful lovebirds. I finished the application, may I go now? Yes. Si Han was in a good mood and finally let him off. Si Xia only made it out a few steps when a man dressed in bright colors walked into the house. Ah, Xia, you're here too. What happened to you, kid? Why do you look like that? This expression seems quite familiar. Si Xia wasn't in the mood to bother with him and left with a darkened expression. Yu Wanwan saw the brightly dressed Lin Ke and the corners of her mouth twitched. His aesthetic taste is something else. If it wasn't for his good looks, people would be completely blinded by this outfit. Despite his getup, he actually dared to make a dig at her. Ninth brother, I already asked you out almost 800 times and you didn't even humor me once, you're not giving me face. It seemed like Lin K couldn't manage to meet up with Si Han, so he came personally to question him. Lin K complained angrily, forget about all the other times. But you didn't turn up today as well. Today was the special day that I was going to introduce my girlfriend to you guys. How could you neglect me like this? We can't be brothers anymore. Let's end this. Si Han rested his forehead on his hand and glanced at him, okay. A cold breeze blew. Lin K, even Yuan pitied Lin Quebec. But was showing off his girlfriend considered important? He changed girlfriends as often as he changed his clothes. Lin K was in tears as he lamented, you're heartless and shameless. How could you treat me like this? You abandoned me for an entire month. What are you so busy with all the time? Si Han didn't even lift his head and continued making marks on the practice booklet with his red pen. My girlfriend has her major exams coming up, so I won't be attending any social functions for now. Lin K was stunned, then he realized what Si Han was holding. It was a math practice book and all the red ticks and comments were all Si Han's handwriting. Lin K was in a daze for a long while before cursing, damn. He finally knew why Si Xia's expression was so familiar, it's the abused look of a single dog. He hadn't had a girlfriend in a long time because he found relationships boring. This time, he got a girlfriend purely for revenge because he was abused before and wanted to show off a little in front of Si Han. Who knew that even with a girlfriend to show off, I'd still get so badly abused? Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Lin K also left in anger, just like Si Xia did. Yuan looked at Si Han in a perplexed manner and asked, you've been home these past few days just so you could tutor me? When she heard what Lin K said, she recalled that Si Han had indeed been home before 8 p.m. and hadn't returned late lately. Si Han didn't deny it and gave her a meaningful look, I did it to prevent a certain someone from being unsatisfied with my tutoring and demanding a refund. He. Yuan had a look of guilt, being exposed like that. Why? Why would I? I really had been thinking about getting a refund though. After she completed the application form, Yuan funneled all her energy into the final sprint of studying before the exams. In the blink of an eye, it was the night before college entrance exams. Si Han had already fallen asleep next to her, but Yuan was overcome with anxiety for the exams the next day and was tossing around in bed, unable to fall asleep. Unknowingly, I've been sleeping with Si Han for almost a month already. I've come a long way from the beginning when I was so scared, now look at me today, when I'm actually able to view myself as a pillow for him. When Si Han says sleep, he really means sleep and he actually treats sleep very seriously. Other than not being used to sleeping in such an intimate position, everything else is fine. And since tomorrow is the day of my exams, this will be the last night of paying my tuition fees. Probably because Yuan was restless in bed that night, Si Han's fluttery lashes trembled as he slowly opened his eyes. In the dark, that pair of mysterious eyes stared at the girl in his embrace, then he lowered his head and kissed her on her lips. Yuan, who was tossing around, suddenly felt softness and warmth on her lips. Her eyes widened. You woke me up, the man's tone had an obvious tinge of anger in it. I'm dead meat. I actually woke him up by accident. The great devil's temper when he gets up, terrifying. Yuan swallowed, I didn't mean it, it's just that I have exams tomorrow. I'm too nervous so I can't fall asleep. Don't sleep then. The moment he said that, he wrapped her up tightly around him and started to plant kisses on her forehead, eyes, lips, collarbone. Yuan held tightly onto the buttons on her clothes to prevent him from unfastening them, she was on the verge of crying. Why did I provoke the great devil on the final night? I was wrong. I'll definitely try harder to sleep and stop moving. Please calm down. This could affect my performance on the exams tomorrow. Si Han nibbled lightly along her collarbone, it won't. Yu Wanwan grabbed a pillow next to her and blocked him. How wouldn't it? Si Han, you could do all those questions even with your eyes closed. Yu Wanwan was speechless. What the? It's no use even if you give me a magic potion to bewitch me. Yu Wanwan took advantage of the fact that he was still groggy from his sleep. She quickly rolled to the side of the bed. He stared unhappily at Yu Wanwan, who had just escaped his clutches. The gloominess in his eyes increased and loomed with danger as he warned, "Come here. I'm no fool. If I go over, will I even be able to crawl out of bed for exams in the morning?" But it was also impossible to not go over. Yu Wanwan didn't have a choice. She slowly went over. While Si Han was kissing her, her soft little hands lightly caressed his hair and neck. The gentleness in her tone could lull a person into entering the soft clouds of sleep. "Be good and sleep, all right? I'll sleep with you." "Ah. No." Si Han spoke this single word and buried himself into her neck, his breathing gradually becoming heavier. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. When she felt that Si Han was no longer moving, Yu Wanwan blinked, then blinked again. Did he fall asleep? Wow, it actually worked. She remembered the first time Si Han was nearly woken up by the ringtone on Su Yi's phone. At that time, she did the exact same thing to coax him back to sleep. This time around, she had given it a try in a moment of desperation and it actually worked. Thank goodness, thank goodness. That almost scared me to death. It was becoming more and more peculiar. Si Han had a serious case of insomnia in her previous life. It was so serious that it was beyond cure. How come he's able to fall asleep so easily in this life? Previously, she thought it was simply a coincidence, but she had been observing him for almost a month. It couldn't be a mistake. Was it because something changed when she was reborn? Just like the butterfly effect, a little change is enough to bring about many unforeseeable larger changes. No matter what the reason was, Yu Wanwan planned to stay put in this position as she didn't dare to wake him up again. Probably due to Si Han's words just now, "You could do all those questions even with your eyes closed," her anxious heart seemed to have calmed down. Exactly, what's there to be nervous about? She was able to memorize the liberal arts notes just by reading them once. As for math, she had improved rapidly under the guidance of Si Han. Yu Wanwan had completed some mock exam papers at home and never scored lower than 140 points. With that thought, Yu Wanwan started feeling sleepy and finally fell asleep. The next morning, Yu Wanwan woke up invigorated. She finally paid off her tuition fees. She sat up immediately, lifted up the sheets stealthily and prepared to get up. But she only got halfway up before a hand snaked around her waist and pushed her back down onto the pillow. Yu Wanwan turned and looked at the man next to her and said weakly, It's already been 8 hours. The morning rays from the sun peeped through the gaps in the curtains and bounced off the flawless face of Si Han. His sleepy eyes appeared misty as if luring one deep into the woods. Yu Wanwan wasn't sure whether it was her illusion, but she felt like Si Han had become better looking lately. His skin was akin to top-grade porcelain without a single pore. It was even better than hers. Often, she'd forget about her fear and feel tempted to touch his face while he was asleep. Could it be from all the sleep he's getting? Seems like beauty sleep has a scientific basis. It's been 7 hours 59 minutes 31 seconds. The moment he said that, he continued his unfinished business from the night before. Yu Wanwan, who was getting her collarbone bitten, was dumbfounded. What dedication! He still remembers even after a complete night of sleep. There are only 29 seconds left. What can you do? Yu Wanwan raised her arm discreetly. This time, he didn't wait for Yu Wanwan to do the same old trick with her arm and immediately forced it down on the pillow. He narrowed his icy cold yet terrifying eyes, lowered his head and kissed her ferociously, bringing about a taste of his punishment. Just as Yu Wanwan was scared out of her wits, the clock on the wall rang with a duh, and it finally pointed at 6 o'clock sharp. When Yu Wanwan regained her senses from the lack of air and dizziness, she realized Si Han was already out of bed, had removed his pajamas and was in the process of changing into his clothes. He wore black pants and a white shirt with buttons fastened all the way to the top. The mist beneath his eyes was gone, and right now, he wore an indifferent and alert expression, turning back into a cold immortal banished from heaven, looking like he didn't live on the same level as common mortals. He ordered her with a stiff expression while getting dressed, "Get up and get ready." "Oh." Yuan replied in a daze, completely astonished. He could actually keep it together after acting so animalistic a second ago. This guy was really quite scary. He had so much self-control that he was able to overcome the physiology and instincts of a man, but why then, did he always get so mad at incomprehensible issues? She was so afraid of him because he was so hot-tempered and couldn't control his emotions in her past life. For example, right now, Siyi-han was staring at her while she was daydreaming. His cold countenance had flashes of a violent storm brewing. "What are you thinking about?" She almost forgot that thinking about something else while being with him was one of Siyi-han's taboos. Yuan quickly banished her thoughts. Nothing, I just find your figure really nice. Accidentally admired it for too long. Thankfully. I got some omnipotent survival skills after being reborn. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. After she finished her breakfast and prepared everything, Yuan got ready to leave the house. Before she left, she seemed to have remembered something and stopped in her tracks. "Wait. I suddenly remembered I forgot to do something important." She dashed off like a streak of vapor to the yard and took a few light steps towards the white figure lying under the tree. Lately, even though Great White had been at the Jean Garden quite often, Siyi-han hadn't allowed her to keep playing with it. His reason was supported by the idiom, excessive attention to trivialities saps the will, meaning it would affect her studies if she kept obsessing over Great White. Thankfully, she was about to end this ordeal and would be able to play with Great White once her summer holiday began. Great White seemed to have felt someone was approaching. His ears twitched, but he didn't care to move and continued to lie there lazily, wagging his tail leisurely. 3 steps, 2 steps, 1 step. Great White, give me some of your domineering spirit so that I can have a big kill later." Yuan obviously didn't mean that she wanted to kill the paper literally, but she meant it figuratively, meaning that she would ace the exams. Yuan took a deep breath. When the white tiger wasn't paying attention, she quickly stroked its body, turned around and ran away immediately. Siyi-han watching nearby, her important thing was actually to touch Si Lu-te. The corners of Su Yi's mouth twitched as he saw the vulgar actions of Yuan trying to leech off the great powers of the tiger. He realized Yuan really liked Si Lu-te. The meaning of Si Lu-te's name was slaughter, and this white tiger was just as its name suggested. This breed was aggressive and great at fighting. Furthermore, it had gone through intensive and gruesome training from a young age, so its temperament was even more ferocious. He wouldn't be surprised if Yuan was afraid of it. But right now, Yuan actually said that she wanted some of its domineering spirit so she could have a big kill. If she didn't really like him, she would never have been able to say something like that. Siyi-han accompanied her to the exam hall personally. After they arrived, all they saw was a horde of parents dropping their children off. The parents were all nagging and cheering for their children lovingly and sending their children into the hall. "I'm heading in." Yuan unfastened the seatbelt and prepared to take off. "Wait," Siyi-han suddenly called out to her. Yuan paused and turned to Siyi-han. "Could it be that he wants to encourage and cheer me on too?" "Hand in your exam early, don't waste time," Siyi-han said. Yuan was at a loss for words. Other students' parents were nagging at them to not hand in their exams early and check them through a couple times before submitting them, but he wanted her to do the exact opposite. Truly, there's no harm if there's no comparison. Luckily, she already had Great White's luck with her. Cough, got it. Yuan coughed lightly and pushed the door open. Today was the liberal arts exam, she shouldn't need to spend much time on it. When the door was halfway open, she suddenly heard Siyi-han's voice again. "Wait. Is there something else?" Yuan turned, confused. "What is it this time?" Siyi-han glanced at her. That stare causing Yi Wanwan to have goosebumps. How did I provoke him again? Just as her heart was beating fiercely, he suddenly bent down and planted an icy kiss on her forehead. Yi Wanwan was stunned when she felt the chill on her forehead and touched her forehead instinctively. Is this an encouragement of love? Since when did Si Yihan have any EQ? After Si Yihan kissed her, he sat upright and looked at her calmly. Now you're ready for your big kill. Yi Wanwan, so, what Si Yihan meant was, leeching off his skills was better than leeching off from Si Lute, is that right? From a certain point of view, this was indeed irrefutable. Thank you. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Yi Wanwan got off the car. Before she entered the exam hall, she sent a text to Yi Mu Fan, Good Yi, shall we meet after my exams are over? When she texted her brother about what happened to Shin Meng Chi at school before, her brother didn't reply at all, nor did he answer her calls. The text message today was no different, like a rock sinking into the big sea. Yi Wanwan waited a while before finally deciding to switch her phone off and empty all the rubbish thoughts in her head. She took a deep breath and walked into the exam hall. Forget it, I have freedom now. When exams are over, I can go see him anytime. In the next 2 days, Yi Wanwan focused all her attention and energy on the exams. On the afternoon of the second day, when the math exam was over, it marked the end of her time in high school. Yi Wanwan walked out of the exam hall, looked at the azure sky above and felt as if she had entered into a new life. All the students cheered and charged towards their parents who had come to pick them up, like little birds just released from a cage. Yi Wanwan looked at the crowd and her gaze suddenly stopped at a familiar figure. Dad. However, when she went to take a closer look, she realized the figure was gone. It was probably just her illusion from missing him too much. Wanwan. At this moment, Jiang Yanran's voice came from behind her with Chu Feng by her side. The two of them coincidentally had exams in the same school at the exam hall upstairs. Wanwanjia, how did you do? Bet you did well. Chu Feng asked excitedly. It was alright, what about you guys? Yi Wanwan asked. Chu Feng shook his head, slightly embarrassed. I left the last math question blank. It was too twisted, I've never seen a question like that before. Everyone was debating whether it was even covered in our syllabus. Yi Wanwan coughed lightly. Was it really that difficult? Actually, it was covered in the syllabus. The question was merely a few chapters merged together to form a big question. Compared to the challenging as hell questions Si Yihan gave her, this was nothing. At first, she just wanted to get an average grade. As long as her math didn't pull down the other grades, it shouldn't be a problem for her to enter Imperial Media with her liberal arts grade. But her tutor was too dedicated to his job. He went through every single question with her, from simple to average to challenging ones. Noticing that Jiang Yanran didn't look too good, Yi Wanwan asked with concern, What's wrong, Yanran? Did the exam not go well for you? Jiang Yanran stared at the screen on her phone and shook her head, looking listless. No. The moment she replied, tears started flowing. Yi Wanwan was taken aback. Why were you crying? What happened? Jiang Yanran jumped into her arms and sobbed. How could this be? I don't believe it. How could my husband do something like that? My husband's definitely not a pervert. Yi Wanwan was totally confused. Huh? Your husband? Chu Feng. What did he do? Chu Feng felt so aggrieved that his face was nearly melted and contorted by the sun. Wanwanjia, Yanran wasn't referring to me, she's talking about her idol, Han Xianyu. Oh. So that's what happened. Yi Wanwan was surprised when she heard these 3 words, Han Xianyu. Something happened to Han Xianyu already? So fast. In her memory, this was supposed to happen within these few days, so she'd been paying extra attention to the news. Who knew that super fan, Jiang Yanran, would hear about the news before her? Yi Wanwan turned on her phone and headed to some popular websites. She saw that a few hours ago, while they were writing their exams, posted on every website was a piece of explosive news: Asia's most popular prince is actually a PAE. Do. File. Han Xianyu was currently worldwide entertainment's most popular, most profitable male actor, earning the title of Asia's most popular prince from teenage girls. Due to his dashing looks and cool personality, he stole the hearts of many the moment he made his debut. Everything went very smoothly for him and he became a big hit. He became even more popular than the hottest actor from Emperor Sky, Ling Xiaozhe. The two of them were roughly the same age, so their positions were very close and they were fierce competitors. Not long ago, Han Xianyu had taken on a big production that had millions invested in it. With the Hollywood special effects team and appearance of all the megastars, it would definitely be a big hit once it screened, allowing him to reach another pinnacle of his career. Who knew that something like this would happen to him at this pivotal moment? If Han Xianyu's career was over, all the movies in his hands would go to Ling Xiaozhe for sure, including any major financial backing he had. They would take the first chance to split the money and leave. Jiang Yanran cried out, "The rival company must be responsible. They're trying to defame Xian." Chu Feng muttered softly, "But there are testimonies from the little girl and her parents." Jiang Yanran immediately looked up from Yuanwan's embrace and glared at him. "So what if there are testimonies? Couldn't they be lying?" Chu Feng's voice became meeker, "But they also found the evidence of sleeping pills in the child's body." Jiang Yanran's eyes were on the verge of spitting fire. "That can't prove my husband was the one who fed them to her. Is there any evidence? Did anybody witness it?" Chu Feng instantly nodded his head like a rattle drum. "Yes, yes, yes. It must be fake. Your husband has been so warm and charitable, he's so friendly even to kids, that he would never do something like this." Hearing Jiang Yanran and Chu Feng squabbling, Yuanwan laughed out. Actually, what Jiang Yanran said just now wasn't wrong at all. This entire incident was a very nasty trap. In order to demand and extort a huge amount of money, the little girl's parents acted out this entire incident, giving the kid a shot of drugs and even teaching her to lie in order to frame Han Xianyu for indecency and sexual assault. In her previous life, the trap set by the girl's parents wasn't great, and there was no concrete evidence against him, so Han Xianyu was unable to be convicted of the offense. However, with this kind of civil case, if the parents really wanted to keep pursuing the matter, the outcome would be unthinkable. What's worse was it could drag on for many years. Due to public opinion and pressure, the court was also obviously biased, so the company arranged for the star to settle this matter out of court. But a few years later, the little girl probably felt guilty, so she told the truth and finally wiped Han Xianyu's record clean. But his career had already taken a dive because of the scandal. A shining star had fallen just like that. Although Han Xianyu was an actor from the rival company, Yuanwan's impression of him wasn't too bad. It was rare to find a popular novice who looked good and was also great at acting. Even her father praised him. Actually, she considered giving him a warning before everything unfolded but thought it was unrealistic. After all, she knew about this only because she had already lived out the future. Since other people didn't know about it, if she really warned him, it would sound quite ridiculous. Jiang Yanran panicked. "What should we do? So many people believe that girl and her parents. They even said Xian held charity balls and invited young kids to attend so he could molest those young girls. How could they make such baseless speculations? It's too much." Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Yuanwan swept through the comments on the website and saw that most people didn't question whether it was the truth or not. They all cursed at him, saying he was a pervert, that the entertainment field was messy, and that Emperor Sky would definitely take this opportunity to trample him. In just a few short hours, the news had already taken over the headlines and hottest topics in various big entertainment websites. Yuanwan sighed. Unless the other party admits they were lying to extort a hefty sum of money from him, then. Jiang Yanran turned pale. If their intention really was to frame him, why would they admit it? That's right, this is exactly where the problem lay. How do you get the other party to tell the truth? If she waited a few years until the girl told the truth, the flowers would have withered by then, so to speak. Why don't we act more brutal and give them a little scare? Force the truth out of them. Chu Feng suggested. Yu Wanwan shook her head. Right now, Han Xianyu is the accused one. How could he use such aggressive tactics? Furthermore, Emperor Sky must be watching closely for worldwide to fall from their own mistakes. If they found out Han Xianyu resorted to violence and extortion, he'd have no hope of reprieve. Actually, in her past life when this incident occurred, she'd already thought hard about this problem. And she had really found a solution to it. However, she was limited in her abilities as she'd just made her debut, so it was impossible to help him, a complete stranger. Chu Feng thought about it and offered, as the saying goes, heaven blesses the good man, maybe there will be a turn of events. Jiang Yanran nodded dispiritedly, hopefully that's the case. Anyway, before there's any concrete evidence, I refuse to follow the crowd blindly, I trust him. Chu Feng agreed, let's cheer Xian Xian on together. Jiang Yanran was touched and hugged Chu Feng. Chu Feng, thank you. Chu Feng's body suddenly became a block of ice. His face was totally flushed and he seemed to be in a trance as he replied, why are you thanking me? Your idol is my idol. Yi Wanwan, watching their lovey-doveyness, what goes around comes around. An entrance to a certain superior villa in Imperial City, a large horde of reporters crowded around Han Xianyu and his manager the moment he stepped out of his caregiver's car. Han Xianyu, were Mr. and Mrs. Zhao's words true? Did you perform any indecent acts or sexually assault their 10-year-old daughter? All these years, were those so-called charities, aid for sick children and invitations to visit your manor simply ways of satisfying your nauseating appetite? Han Xianyu, are you really a pedophile? Do you have any psychological illnesses? Han Xianyu was in a full black outfit. He wore a pair of oversized shades to hide half of his face and didn't speak a single word throughout. He was protected by his bodyguard and manager as he moved forward. His manager raised his arms to block a few reporters who stuck their microphones in Han Xianyu's face. He raised his voice, please make way. Please make way, everyone. The wise man knows that he knows nothing while the fool thinks he knows it all. We will give a satisfactory answer to all these questions once the truth is out. At this moment, one of the reporters pulled out a large photograph furiously and shouted in a piercing voice, the wise man knows that he knows nothing while the fool thinks he knows it all. How do you explain all these pictures? Many kids were in your private bedroom and laid in your bed. Can we say that you not only violated and sexually assaulted one child, but many others as well? Actually, the photo the reporter pulled out was no secret. It had been published to the media by the company itself. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. A manor under Han Xianyu's name was shaped into a childlike paradise. He often extended invitations to the children he helped before, along with his young fans, generously offering up his place to play. At that time, the company had many photos of Han Xianyu interacting with the kids. Some showed him playing with the children, doing activities, and rolling and laughing in the grass. The photo on the bed was just one of many. The bedroom in the photo was, in fact, Han Xianyu's. The bed in his room was in the shape of a pirate ship, so kids really liked it and often jumped onto the bed with him. Now that the media had zeroed in on that photo alone, it looked like evidence of him sexually assaulting the kids. Han Xianyu took off his shades and stared at the photo. Anger rose on his face. The reporters at the scene noticed his expression and went even crazier, charging at him, Han Xianyu. Are you still denying the allegations at this point in time? The little girl already accused you, said you took off her clothes and inappropriately touched her private parts. You even forced her to perform oral sex on you. How could you do something like that to a child? You're worse than a beast. Han Xianyu paused and silently turned to the reporter who had just spoken, say that again. When the reporters finally saw Han Xianyu reacting to their accusations, excitement flashed in their eyes as they turned on their video cameras. The sharp-tongued reporter replied with a scornful look, why? Now that you've done it, you don't have the guts to admit it. What outstanding idol, acting like a virtuous young man in the entertainment industry, you're just a hypocrite. Disgusting and perverted. Oh right, I heard you had a younger sister who passed away due to an illness when she was 6. Now that I think about it, maybe she was harassed to death by you. The moment the reporter said that, a howl akin to a pig getting slaughtered resounded. Han Xianyu delivered a punch to his face. Everyone started shouting at the scene. It was total chaos. He punched someone. Han Xianyu punched someone. He actually punched a reporter. The reporter pushed his buttons too far and angered him. He's too much. Stop. Xianyu. Are you insane? Despair and astonishment filled his manager's face. But Han Xianyu had already lost all sense of rationality. The manager and bodyguard couldn't hold him back and could only watch as he pummeled the reporter on the ground, punching him continuously. This entire scene was recorded by all the reporters present. In the end, all the security guards were called in and finally managed to disperse the chaotic crowd. The reporter rubbed his severely bruised and swollen face as he glared at Han Xianyu fiercely. Han Xianyu, just you wait. Justice will prevail. I'll definitely be the one to reveal your true colors. After the chaos, he finally returned home. Han Xianyu dropped onto the sofa with menacing anger from the fight still lingering in his eyes while his manager, Fei Yang, was bogged down with endless calls. At this point, photos and videos of the fight scene had already been uploaded onto the web, spreading the news like wildfire. All the netizens were on the reporter's side and were fired up by his words, justice will prevail. The unfavorable public opinion of the star quickly increased. Fei Yang was scolded terribly by the higher-ups in the company. He hung his head with a defeated look and said to Han Xianyu, Xianyu, you're too rash. I already warned you that you were to remain calm no matter what. Those reporters want juicy news and would provoke you with their words, praying for you to lose control and do something. You're so kind you brought them a knife personally. Fei Yang wanted to continue, but when he noticed Han Xianyu sitting on the sofa without a sound, looking at his little sister's photo on his phone, he finally sighed and stopped. What the reporter said was unacceptable, but netizens wouldn't consider Han Xianyu's point of view and think hard about it. They'd probably even associate what the reporter said with something dirty and nasty. Fei Yang thought long and hard about how to redeem Han Xianyu's image when all of a sudden, Han Xianyu's phone rang. It was a familiar number. It was the father of the little girl. Fei Yang was stunned. He was afraid Han Xianyu would lose control and say something he shouldn't, so he quickly said, pass me the phone, I'll speak to him. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Have you received a summons from the court? The piercingly cold voice of the little girl's father came through the receiver. I'm Han Xianyu's manager, Fei Yang. Zhao Deyong, just let us know how much money you want, we'll give it to you as long as you tell the truth to the media. Fei Yang pressed the recording button and tried to pry the truth out of him to be used as evidence. When the man over the phone heard what he said, he was silent for a moment, then he replied with an extreme rage in his voice, bullshit. What do you mean by that? Han Xianyu is a pedophile, he's a pervert. Even if he has money, he can't get away with being morally corrupt, running wild and turning facts upside down. Who exactly is the one turning facts upside down? Fei Yang finally understood how Han Xianyu felt when he lost control. He took a deep breath and replied, Zhao Deyong, when your daughter was very ill, her medical bills were all paid for by Han Xianyu. How could you accuse him like that? How can you live with yourself? So just because Han Xianyu helped my daughter with her medical bills, I have to let him violate her. You. Fei Yang never expected the man to be this shameless. Not only was Fei Yang unable to pry out the truth from Zhao Deyong was acting so indignant and angry to the death. In order to satisfy his selfish desires, Han Xianyu took advantage of my little daughter, he's a bastard. At this moment, Han Xianyu grabbed the phone away from Fei Yang and said, enunciating each word clearly, "Let me tell you, there's no use even if you sue me. I won't give you a single cent." The man over the phone sneered, "Sure, Han Xianyu. Since you're not feeling remorseful for your actions at all, we'll see what happens." After Yi Wanwan left Chu Feng and Jiang Yan ran, she checked her message inbox. In her inbox, the last message was still the one she sent the day before asking her older brother out. He hadn't replied. The corners of Yi Wanwan's lips curled upwards as a spark ignited in her eyes. "You really want to push me to the extreme, don't you?" Yi Wanwan sent another text over leisurely, "Call me within 10 minutes. Otherwise, the little video clips of you sleeping around with hot girls and famous models will be sent to Shen Mengqi's email inbox." After she sent the text, Yi Wanwan stood at the same spot and counted in her heart, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The moment she reached 9, her phone rang and on the screen were the words, "The unrivaled and most handsome guy in the world." She jumped with shock. Yi Wanwan picked up the phone slowly. "Hello? Yi Wanwan. Don't you dare," the exasperated voice of Yi Mu Fan came through the receiver. Yi Wanwan giggled, "Oh, this busy man finally has the time to call back. Why wouldn't I dare? Anyway, a person like me is capable of anything, right?" Yi Mu Fan gritted his teeth, "How could you have those video clips?" "I secretly took them, nobody said I wasn't allowed." "Yi Wanwan, you pervert." Yi Mu Fan shouted and then suddenly regained his senses. "Stop trying to scare me. How could you possibly have those things? You thought I'd really fall for that? Furthermore, Mengqi knows about my past. She wouldn't do anything even after watching them." Yi Wanwan was about to speak when the sloppy voice of a stranger came through the receiver from Yi Mu Fan's side. I, place your bets, place your bets." "Yi Mu Fan, are you still playing or not? If you are, then hurry and place your bet now, I don't have all day." "Got it, stop rushing me. I'll be there soon." Yi Mu Fan replied, annoyed. Yi Wanwan heard the noise on Yi Mu Fan's side and her face changed. "Yi Mu Fan. You're gambling again. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon." Yi Mu Fan's voice froze, "Mind your own business. It's my life." Fire arose in Yi Wanwan's eyes. "Does Shen Mengqi know you're useless and spend your time idling all day long?" As he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and was also the only grandson in the family, Yi Mu Fan was spoiled to the point where he became self-satisfied, unwilling to work hard to improve himself. He was also hedonistic. He took pleasure in hanging out with a gang of scoundrels all the time, in addition to fighting, racing, gambling, fooling around with women and loafing through life. But there was no denying he was very good-looking and had a smooth way of talking to people. He was also normally very kind to this little sister of his. No matter where he went, he never forgot to prepare a special present for her. Also, all she had to do was give him a call for help and he'd drop everything to help her no matter what he was doing. In her previous life, she hated him for having no ambition. When her family fell apart, he gave up on himself and refused to work to better his circumstances. Yi Mu Fan's relationship with her also soured further when she discarded her dignity and allowed Gu Yuze to take advantage of her. Whenever they saw each other, they usually ended up in a big fight, incapable of communicating with each other. By the end, they stopped talking altogether. As expected, Yi Mu Fan's voice turned even colder after Yi Wanwan's words, "Don't keep bringing Shen Mengqi up to threaten me. Anyway, to all of you, I'm just a useless piece of garbage. Mengqi's not like you, she never criticized me for anything. Never looked down on me. That's because she doesn't even care about you. You dumb ass." Yi Wanwan shouted, unable to hold herself back anymore. Yi Mu Fan was instantly agitated by Yi Wanwan's words and sneered, TSK, you think I'm dumb? You think I'm useless, just idling all day long? Yi Wanwan, what right do you have to criticize me? Do you know how our family ended up in this state? Do you know what kind of scum Gu Yuze is? the Guyuze you follow around like a shameless dog? Which one of us has the heart of a wolf and lungs of a dog? Yi Wanwan trembled in fury at Yi Mu Fan's words. She dug her nails into her palms. It's me. It's me who's dumb. It's me who's useless. It's me who idles all day long. I'm the one who ruined the Yi family. I'm the cruel one who cut ties with mom and dad. But I was also wronged and framed. I didn't do drugs at all. I didn't fall in with the wrong crowd. Do you believe me? I was sent to that place, terrified. I was cut off from all communication to the outside world. I couldn't contact dad, mom, or you at all, and when I finally escaped, my life was in shambles. My friends left me, my fiancé broke up with me, my family and relatives, even grandpa and grandma, all scolded dad. And remember how you treated me. You just criticized and cursed at me non-stop, not to mention that slap. But gee, when I was locked up, where were you? When I was injected with drugs by Yi, where were you? I've been all alone in the world these 2 years. Have you ever once stopped to think about what I've been through? Have you cared one bit? What right do you have to criticize me, then? As she said the last word, Yi Wanwan's voice began to shatter. The phone remained silent for a very long time before his frantic voice came through. You knew. Yi Wanwan suppressed her shaking voice and continued, I was too gullible, so I fell into their trap. I was too arrogant, so I kept breaking mom and dad's hearts. I was too weak, so that they had to sacrifice so much in order to protect me. I caused them to lose their reputation and fall from grace in order to protect me. I caused them to have to live under someone else's roof and suffer all kinds of humiliation and pain. While I, the main culprit, kept living, blissfully unaware. But I didn't know. I didn't know anything at all, nobody told me. I wouldn't have guessed that my ignorance and stupidity could harm the people closest to me so badly. Yi Mu Fan sounded shocked. How did you find out? Did mom and dad tell you? No, impossible, they'd never tell you. Doesn't matter how I found out. Yi Mu Fan, if you want to continue wasting your life, then go on. If you want to continue believing in an outsider, it's up to you. I'll be the one taking care of and protecting mom and dad next time. I'll take revenge for the Yi family. Yi Wanwan hung up without waiting for Yi Mu Fan's response. After the phone call, Yi Wanwan returned to Jean Garden, preoccupied with her thoughts. When she made this phone call, she was already a little on edge. But now, with the guilt and self-reproach combined from her 2 lives, in addition to the nasty criticism from her brother who never spoke so harshly to her in the past, she couldn't keep it together anymore. Yi Wanwan took a deep breath and tried her best to control her emotions. At this moment, her phone rang with a ding, and a piece of entertainment news popped up. Yi Wanwan opened the article and saw that a media company had published another explosive piece of news. Han Xianyu had attacked a reporter in a moment of rage. All the netizens scolded him, with the situation becoming more and more unfavorable towards Han Xianyu. For these sudden scandals, the celebrity had to prove his innocence within a certain time frame. If the scandal was dragged out for a long time, the public would be left with a bad impression even if the star was eventually proven innocent. I have to quickly talk with Han Xianyu's people and turn the situation around before it's too late. However, before I can settle things, I need a suitable identity. With that thought, Yi Wanwan was at a loss. Actually, she had stumbled into this problem before because the conditions Si Han laid out in exchange for her freedom included a very strict rule, no attracting the opposite sex. How could she ever fulfill that? Thankfully, I didn't decide to be a celebrity. Otherwise, this clause alone would prevent me from doing anything. But even working behind the scenes, this face of mine will never be completely safe. She thought about whether she wanted to use her exotic, heavy makeup look, but it was impractical. The entertainment field wasn't the same as school, it was much crueler and more realistic. Furthermore, the entertainment field was a place where looks were of utmost importance. With that terrifying face, she'd scare people off even before she could start talking about working together. Yu Wanwan used all her brain juices to think of a solution when a pair of familiar footsteps and the clear voice of a man came from behind her. You finished your exams? Yu Wanwan immediately turned her head and saw a certain someone dressed in a completely black suit, looking pleasing to the eye as usual. You're back. So early? I thought you said that you had a meeting today. It's over. Oh. Si Han stared at her for a few seconds and then suddenly asked, You didn't do well? Yu Wanwan blinked her eyes in confusion. Nope, I think I did quite well this time. Everyone complained about how hard the last math question was, but I was able to do it. Anyway, what made you suddenly ask if I didn't do well? Si Han replied, You're unhappy. Yu Wanwan was slightly speechless. I went to wash my face when I arrived home and even took a very long time to readjust my feelings, yet he could still tell I'm unhappy. Yu Wanwan coughed lightly. It's not that I'm unhappy, I just have a problem I can't solve. What problem? Si Han loosened the tie on his collar and sat down on the sofa. Yu Wanwan thought about the best way to phrase her sentence before shifting closer to him. It's like this, baby, there's a rule in the agreement you set previously, the one that states I'm not allowed to attract the opposite sex. I think this rule is too unreasonable. Si Han glanced at her. Unreasonable? Yu Wanwan instantly nodded her head. That's right, that's right. Think about it, how beautiful is your girlfriend, don't you know? With my face, how could I not attract any suitors? Even if I don't want to be a celebrity in the future, I might not even be 100% safe just working behind the scenes. So could you please remove this rule? After all, any attraction to me would be due to my face, it's not me who wants to attract the men. Si Han cast a sidelong glance at her when he heard her shameless proclamation, How beautiful is your girlfriend, and replied, I never said it was reasonable. Upon hearing Si Han's, must the rule set by the king be reasonable, tone, Yu Wanwan was left without any words to rebut him. Fine, fine, fine. Your servant will think of a way, all right? Yu Wanwan scratched her head in frustration. I could cover this face with thick makeup, but it's a disadvantage to be that ugly in this industry. So what's the best way to completely prevent the opposite sex from being attracted to me? I've thought about it over and over again, and could only come up with one solution. Si Han looked at her, interested to know the answer. Thus, Yu Wanwan paused and she looked at Si Han with sparkling eyes. The solution is, to dress as a man. I won't attract any suitors then. I'm a total genius. With regards to Yu Wanwan's mind-blowing idea, Si Han's expression was, Yu Wanwan skipped over and tried her best to sell the idea to him. Don't you think this would be the safest way? Then next time, baby, you wouldn't have to worry about me attracting other men. The more Yu Wanwan thought about it, the more feasible it seemed. This face of hers was pretty troublesome, and it was already pretty inconvenient for a girl like her to be in the entertainment industry. If she pretended to be a man, it'd be easier for her to work in the field. The best thing was that her looks wouldn't go to waste since pretty boys were a trend now. Si Han supported his head on one hand and his eyes shifted a little. Yu Wanwan couldn't tell whether he agreed with her idea or not. What this little wretch said makes some sense, but I somehow feel like there's something wrong somewhere. Yu Wanwan muttered softly, Wanwan's already trying her very, very, very best to follow your rules. As she spoke, Sui walked over from the kitchen to inform them that dinner was ready. When Yu Wanwan saw Sui, she immediately tried to make him an ally. She hurriedly waved him over, Housekeeper Su, Housekeeper Su. Come over. I have something I need your opinion on. Me? Sui first glanced at his master before making his way over suspiciously. Yu Wanwan immediately said, It's the summer holidays now and I'll be going to university very soon. I already went through most of the syllabus for university and I'll definitely focus all my energy on my work in future, but this face of mine is not so good for keeping a harmonious family. In order to prevent some unnecessary trouble, I came up with the idea of dressing up as a man. What do you think? Isn't it great? While speaking, Yu Wanwan gave Su-yi a secret nod, trying to tell him that they were on the same team. Dress as a man. Su-yi genuinely thought there was a big hole in Yu Wanwan's brain. But if Yu Wanwan pretends to be a man, there wouldn't be any other men harassing her anymore, right? The skies will be clear as long as Master doesn't get jealous. Su-yi thought about it earnestly and found it a surprisingly sound idea, so he spoke up. It's indeed more convenient to be a man and safer for you too. Yu Wanwan was surprised. Baby, look, housekeeper Su also agreed. When Yu Wanwan finished speaking, she discreetly opened a web page on her phone for him to see. Baby, I have to quickly start working and earn money. Look, look. I've already chosen the props I want to use in future. The link was to purchase a pair of studded diamonds and extremely shiny, sexy handcuffs. Si-han, okay. Finally, things were settled. Yu Wanwan let out a yelp and kissed Si-han. Many years later, people often ask this wise and strategic man, the most outstanding master in the history of the Si family, whether he made any bad decisions in life. Each time someone asked him this question, Si-han thought back to this day. And a certain male housekeeper also expressed sorrow at the way his life had been drastically affected. After she overcame this big obstacle, Yu Wanwan then moved on to the next step of her plan. She disguised herself as a reporter and added the little girl's father, Zhao Deyong, on his personal WeChat and QQ. She read through every single detail in his profile, his circle of friends, his space, and all the daily messages he sent to various social accounts. Then, by using her memory, she found everything she needed. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Yu Wanwan went through the messages Zhao Deyong published on his social media the entire night. She fell asleep unknowingly and was only woken up by a phone call from Jiang Yanran the next morning. Half an hour after she hung up, Yu Wanwan reached the entrance of the court. Many fashionable teenagers crowded together, and there were a few people who held signs. Written on the signs were along the lines of, Han Xianyu was framed, Han Xianyu is innocent, burn the rumors. At the same time, there were also many reporters waiting outside the court. In her past life, the incident about Han Xianyu sexually abusing a child reached everybody and had a great impact on society. Yu Wanwan hadn't forgotten the sequence of events. The girl's father should be taking Han Xianyu to court today. Wanwanjia, you're here too. Chu Feng, who was dressed casually, squeezed through the crowd and walked to Yu Wanwan. Yeah, Yu Wanwan nodded. Yan Ran called me just now. Jiang Yanran was Han Xianyu's diehard fan. She got the news firsthand that the girl's father was taking Han Xianyu to court, and she immediately called Chu Feng and Yu Wanwan over. Wanwan, you're here. When Jiang Yanran saw Yu Wanwan, she nearly teared up from feeling so aggrieved. Even people with little knowledge of the law know that those so-called pieces of evidence are not substantial. Why is everyone saying that Xianxian's guilty so confidently? Since the matter's been brought to court, shouldn't they back their words with evidence? That couple would resort to every conceivable means of getting money. What's more infuriating are those reporters fanning the flames. Chu Feng said, agitated. Today, Mr. and Mrs. Zhao are bringing the current most popular celebrity, Han Xianyu, to court. According to the report, the court has officially accepted this case. We will continue to monitor this report closely. A formally dressed female reporter spoke in front of the camera. Quite a number of people at the court entrance joined in on the buzz. Each person had their own opinion about the case. All these celebrities now are really dirty. He won't even let a little kid off. Exactly. That Han Xianyu changed his villa into a theme park and said he was doing charity work the whole time, but it was all to do something so perverted. He's worse than a beast. Mr. and Mrs. Zhao's little girl is really pitiful. Why was she targeted by that bastard? He left such a big shadow over that little girl. I'm sure this little girl isn't the only one who was abused. If Mr. and Mrs. Zhao didn't bring this matter up, I'm not sure how many others would suffer in silence. Damn. Are all these people idiots? Hearing the crowd call Han Xianyu a bastard, Chu Feng was fuming and looked like he was about to charge up to argue with them but was stopped by Yu Wanwan. What are you doing? Wanwanjia, they don't even have any evidence. They're saying it's raining when they only heard the howling of the wind. The court hasn't given their verdict, yet these people are convicting my idol of the crime already. How could they? Chu Feng gritted his teeth. Yi Wanwan, are you sure that Han Xianyu's your idol? This guy's fallen too deep. Aren't you tarnishing Han Xianyu's name if you argue with them? Then people would just start saying that Han Xianyu's fans were making a scene. Chu Feng paused, nodded, and looked at Yi Wanwan in a daze. Wanwanjia, you're right. Jiang Yanran nodded, we must never be swayed, no matter what other people say. Han Xianyu's fans weren't bad, they were simply holding their banners up and weren't arguing with anybody. Meanwhile, the reporters at the court entrance tried to influence public opinion, provoking the crowd to convict Han Xianyu of the crime directly. When those gossipy passerbys overheard Jiang Yanran's conversation, they all shot disdainful looks at their group. All these youngsters can't tell right from wrong. The issue has already gotten to this point, yet they're still unable to distinguish the truth and keep insisting that the bastard isn't guilty and was framed. They actually support those kinds of bastards who wouldn't even let a child off. Their brains must be damaged. Jiang Yanran's eyes turned red from anger. All these people had no idea at all. They didn't know the significance of an idol. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. At this moment, a tall and skinny reporter with a pointy mouth and a chin like a monkey's squeezed through the crowd to get to Jiang Yanran. At the same time, she made the cameraman point the camera at her. She was up to no good. Miss, may I know if you're a fan of Han Xianyu? The lanky reporter asked in an odd tone. Jiang Yanran looked straight into the camera and responded resolutely, yes. The reporter then passed the microphone over. With regards to the incident of Han Xianyu sexually abusing a little girl, what are your thoughts? Jiang Yanran suppressed the anger boiling inside and replied calmly, Mr. Reporter, before I reply to your question, I don't agree with the way you phrased it. The court hasn't come to a verdict yet, so you shouldn't use words like sexually abuse. The reporter sneered, the girl's statement has already been publicized and traces of the sleeping pill have also been found in her body and were reported very clearly in the medical report. Many insiders, even Han Xianyu's ex-girlfriend, already divulged that Han Xianyu's a pedophile. It's an open secret in the industry. There is also photo evidence of Han Xianyu lying in the same bed with many little girls. Do you still think Han Xianyu is innocent? Jiang Yanran clenched her fists. From the viewpoint of the law, all this evidence can't prove that Han Xianyu did anything at all. The statement was given by the girl alone, there were no witnesses around. Also, we can't be sure who fed the sleeping pill to the little girl. All the news that the so-called insiders provided were also just verbal statements and those photos. All the evidence is laid out in front of you, yet you're still denying the truth. So this is the kind of fans Han Xianyu has. The girl's statement, photo and medical report have been presented, yet you're still trying to distort the truth. Like idol, like fans, the reporter interrupted Jiang Yanran in a fit. Jiang Yanran was also enraged by what he said. What do you mean, like idol, like fans? Han Xianyu has always been charitable and kind ever since his debut, he spreads positivity to his fans, But the truth is, all this was just to cover up his dirty, perverted, and despicable self. Once again, the reporter interrupted her. Since the court has already accepted the case, shouldn't we leave the court to give the verdict? Who are you two? With such irrefutable evidence, do we still need to wait for a verdict from the court? Or is it that Han Xianyu was unable to bribe the little girl's parents and wants to pressure the court instead? Let me tell you, no matter what the court's verdict is, the fact that Han Xianyu sexually assaulted a little girl will never change. If the court is unable to bring justice to the victims, then we reporters have to seek justice for them instead, the reporter yelled. The lanky reporter's words suddenly incited all the other reporters to join in, that's right. We must seek justice for the victims. Don't think you can screw over people just because you're rich and powerful. You think just because you have fans, you'll be able to change public opinion? In your dreams. Remove this public cancerous tumor. Let's get the fans to face the truth. How could a pretty girl like you be so cruel? The entire life of that little child was ruined by that bastard, yet you're still speaking up for him. Are you even human? I didn't, I was merely speaking the truth. The truth is that Han Xianyu is a despicable and filthy pervert. Jiang Yanran tried to reason things out calmly, but nobody wanted to speak reason. Nobody bothered about the rationality of the evidence and all of them just attacked her, shoving the camera in her face. Chu Feng was squeezed out of the crowd and became anxious, seeing that the situation was getting out of hand and Jiang Yanran was being attacked from all sides. Awo kicked me. At that moment, the cameraman next to Jiang Yanran suddenly felt a sharp pain on his calf and his body tilted to one side, knocking the camera of another reporter to the floor. Both of them started fighting. While the crowd was in chaos, Yu Wanwan quietly sneaked to Jiang Yanran's side and swiftly placed her jacket over Jiang Yanran's head. Let's go. Don't be silly. You can't reason with these people. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. The three of them finally managed to disentangle themselves from the reporters surrounding them. Yanran, are you okay? Are you hurt? It's all my fault, I didn't protect you properly. Chu Feng blamed himself. Jiang Yanran stood rooted to the ground in a daze, not saying a word, having gotten a big blow from what just happened. Yu Wanwan hugged her lightly then turned to Chu Feng and said, "Take Yanran back, it's better for her not to leave the house for now." The reporters would never let this juicy news go, they'd definitely use this interview with Jiang Yanran to craft an article. As expected, the interview with Jiang Yanran was taken out of context by the reporters and posted all over the internet. Fans of Han Xianyu were labeled as brainless, and whoever spoke up for Han Xianyu was attacked viciously by the righteous people. Following that, Southeast Daily newspaper, where that lanky reporter was from, uncovered even more explosive news. An ex-employee who had worked at Han Xianyu's villa revealed that he often saw Han Xianyu disappearing with little girls for entire afternoons and the cries of the girls could be heard from his bedroom. This news gave rise to more speculations from the public. All the evidence pointed to the fact that Han Xianyu sexually assaulted the little girl. Just a simple piece of celebrity gossip quickly became the hottest topic in town. In front of an enormous mirror, Yu Wanwan lowered her head and rolled up her sleeves leisurely. The corners of her rosy lips curled upwards and in the next second, she suddenly raised her head. Her stunning face was warped by a stern and indifferent appearance, the warm beauty of a teenage girl slowly faded away. At this moment, worldwide entertainment was completely surrounded by furious reporters and agitated civilians. There were a few broken windows, the entrance was littered with rotten vegetables and eggs and there was even the stench of urine. Every single day, around the clock without fail, there were protesters shouting and holding banners up, "Kick Han Xianyu out of the entertainment industry. Worldwide entertainment is protecting scum. Seek justice for the victim." In the meeting room of Worldwide Entertainment, everyone hung their heads low and didn't speak a word, the atmosphere was so heavy that it was almost frozen. The incident has already escalated up to this point, groups of people have been at our office cursing us for days, yet each one of you here is mute now. How do we solve this issue exactly? All of you better give me a solution by today. The chairman of Worldwide Entertainment, Chu Hongguang, threw a pile of newspapers on the meeting table and howled in a violent rage, his plump body trembling with anger. He took a deep breath, shoved down the fury in his heart and looked at the lawyer sitting opposite. "Let me ask you, how confident are you that we can win this case?" The lawyer's face was slightly pale as he replied stiffly, "At the moment, public opinion is all on the girl's side. As civilians are very worked up over this incident, the court will more or less be affected by pressure from the public. If we're really going ahead with this lawsuit, we would have to change public opinion and find concrete evidence that could turn the case. I'm afraid this will drag on for a very long time." Very long time. How long? Chu Hongguang's face sank. If this issue got dragged out, it would be the equivalent of a slow death for Han Xianyu. After all, it was the golden period of Han Xianyu's career right now. With negative publicity, however, his road to stardom was doomed. Which director or brand would hire a celebrity with such a negative image? The lawyer swallowed and gave a safe estimate. Best case scenario, at least 2 to 3 years. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. "2 to 3 years. Chu Hongguang's face darkened. If he had to carry this stain for 2 to 3 years, even if he won in the end, Han Xianyu would be totally worthless by then and would bring down the company's reputation for a few years. Do we have any other options? The lawyer paused for a moment. I suggest settling this out of court and trying our best to minimize the damage from this incident. When Fei Yang heard that, he was anxious. How can we do that? Isn't that the same as admitting guilt? Han Xianyu's name would be stained forever. At this moment, a refined gentleman in a gray suit across Fei Yang said casually, "So you want to drag all the celebrities in the company down just for Han Xianyu's sake?" Fei Yang's expression changed. "Zhou Wenbin, what are you trying to say?" Zhou Wenbin shrugged. "Fei Yang, we can't be too righteous. This issue was started by Han Xianyu and implicated everyone in the company, even our shares are dropping. To date, you don't even have any evidence to prove his innocence. Do you really want everybody in the company to be dragged down with him and await their deaths?" Zhou Wenbin's words garnered the support of many of the other managers. Wenbin's right, there's no reason for all of us to take the blame for Han Xianyu's wrongdoings, right? I also think the best course of action right now is to cut our losses immediately. The discussion got louder with almost everyone agreeable to settling this out of court. There were even some managers who complained, resentful of Han Xianyu for implicating the celebrities they were in charge of. While the rowdy discussions were underway, Fei Yang's face turned uglier and both his hands shook with fury. When Han Xianyu basked in glory, so many of them sucked up to him. Which of the celebrities under the management of these people didn't freeload on Han Xianyu's popularity? But now, everyone's hitting a man when he's down. "Xianyu, say something. All these people are pushing you to your death." Fei Yang couldn't take it any longer and he turned to Han Xianyu, who hadn't said a word. Han Xianyu sat silently in the meeting room. It seemed like he hadn't heard the discussions and noise around him. His pale face and dark eye circles revealed how worn out he was from this crisis. He glanced coldly at all these people who wanted him to give up, an inexpressible emotion in his eyes. When Zhou Wenbin heard everyone backing him up, a shred of subtle happiness beamed across his face as he turned to Chu Hongguang. "Chairman Chu, this implicates the reputation of the company, so we really hope you make a decision soon." Chu Hongguang listened as everyone argued. He had a terrible headache. Naturally, he couldn't bear to let go of his money tree, Han Xianyu, but judging by the circumstances, it was probably too late to save Han Xianyu at this point. If this dragged on, it would be disastrous for the company and could also defame the other celebrities. Fei Yang saw that Chu Hongguang was slightly wavering and he said anxiously, "Boss, Xianyu definitely didn't do those things. That couple is obviously trying to extort money from him, it's all for money. If we just give them some money, then Xianyu will be in the clear." Fei Yang, is maintaining Han Xianyu's innocence still important? Zhou Wenbin sneered and his gaze swept to the pale Han Xianyu. "What's important is not whether he did it or not, the public already believes he did it." Fei Yang prepared to argue with Zhou Wenbin. However, Chu Hongguang raised his hand and interrupted the two of them. He spoke gravely, "Wenbin's right, it's not important whether Han Xianyu did it or not. What's important is how we're going to protect the interests of the company." Chu Hongguang's words instantly made Fei Yang's face turn ghastly white. He looked at Han Xianyu in panic. Han Xianyu, who had just been sitting there with his handsome face completely numb, finally pursed his lips when he heard Chu Hongguang say, "It's not important whether Han Xianyu did it or not. TSK, not important." Everybody thinks it's not important. Under the everyone's anticipatory gaze, Chu Hongguang took a deep breath. The corners of his lips moved slightly and it looked like he was about to speak. Han Xianyu closed his eyes slowly. He didn't need to hear what Chu Hongguang was going to say, he could already see his fate. After careful consideration, regarding Han Xianyu's scandal, I've decided to protect the best interests of the company. We will immediately settle this out of court in accordance to the lawyer's advice and... A loud bang suddenly swallowed the last few words from Chu Hongguang's speech. Every single person in the meeting room turned towards the sound. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. The door of the meeting room was pushed open by someone and a beautiful and dazzling teenager appeared at the entrance unexpectedly. Sorry to interrupt. The lips of this stunning teenager moved slightly, showing off his manly charms. Everyone in the meeting room was already accustomed to all kinds of beauty but was still stunned by this teenager's looks. However, someone quickly recovered his composure. When Zhou Wenbin saw that Che Manchu's decision was abruptly interrupted, he felt annoyed and stared sternly at the face before him. Who are you? Who allowed you in? Behind the teenager, Han Xianyu's little assistant said meekly, This gentleman here said that he has a way to solve Han Xianyu's crisis. The corners of Zhou Wenbin's lips trembled and his expression turned uglier. Fei Yang, is this person under you? Don't you know the rules? Do you know what kind of place this is? How could you simply allow a stranger in? Where's the security? Drag this person out. Chu Hongguang furrowed his brows and also felt upset as he looked at the young man at the door. A number of security guards rushed over quickly and prepared to grab the teenager. However, the teenager's mocking gaze swept across the brawny security guards. The smirk on his face widened as he continued to stand there and said calmly, if Chairman Chu wants to personally destroy this money tree, then you may get security to escort me out. The little assistant was also worried about this mess, she only realized her recklessness for allowing a stranger in after being scolded. But when she saw the unclouded gaze of the young man, she felt a strange peacefulness. It seemed like Chu Hongguang was hit with a piercing blow right at his weak spot by the words, money tree. His gloomy face was stunned and just as the security guards were about to take action, he suddenly said, wait, the security guards immediately stopped moving. Zhou Wenbin's face darkened further and there was a hint of unease in his eyes. Chu Hongguang looked sternly at the teenager, our friend here, who exactly are you and do you really have a solution to Han Xianyu's incident? That's right, the teenager spoke calmly and curled his lips, making his face appear even more stunning. Many managers in the meeting room were secretly astonished by the look of this teenager, they couldn't help but wonder where this beautiful boy popped out from. Chu Hongguang frowned slightly. He really couldn't bear to let Han Xianyu go. If he had a choice, he would never chop this money tree off. When he heard the teenager had a solution, even if it was just a shred of hope, he'd definitely grab hold of it. He asked eagerly, what's your solution? Zhou Wenbin saw that Chu Hongguang was persuaded and immediately stared at the teenager, a hint of gloominess in his eyes. As long as Han Xianyu was gone, the male celebrity he managed, who was qualified to act in the same roles as Han Xianyu, would be able to ride on Han Xianyu's coattails and become famous immediately. He had waited for this chance for so long and finally had an opportunity to destroy Han Xianyu had appeared. How could he simply let someone else mess this up for him? Boss, we don't even know who this person is. How can we trust him? What if he's a spy from Emperor Sky? The teenager stroked his sleeves when he heard that and smirked, if I'm a spy from Emperor Sky, I would be throwing a party at this moment, I'm afraid I wouldn't have the time to visit your company. The appearance of the unidentified man filled the huge meeting room with a strange atmosphere. Who exactly are you? Even the public relations at Worldwide can't handle this case, so who are you to say that you can change how the public sees Han Xianyu? Bro, please don't speak without using your head here. Right now, Han Xianyu's reputation is secondary. The main issue is that Worldwide Entertainment's reputation is tied with this incident. Some of the top management at Worldwide Entertainment looked at the man, sizing him up. Chairman Chu, don't listen to the flowery speech of this guy. He must be a secret agent sent by Emperor Sky to scout for information. Zhou Wenbin stood up. Upon hearing what Zhou Wenbin said, a chill emerged in Chu Hongguang's eyes. As everyone knew, Emperor Sky Entertainment and Worldwide Entertainment had always been at loggerheads. This incident with Han Xianyu had impacted Worldwide Entertainment so badly that it was plausible for Emperor Sky to send someone to scout for information. Secret agent? The teenager looked at Zhou Wenbin as he smiled mockingly and sneered, with this level of intelligence, it's very hard for me to understand how you actually managed to be included in Worldwide Entertainment's board meeting. Zhou Wenbin was taken aback for a second, then his eyes widened as he shouted, "Bastard, what did you say?" "What did I say?" The teenager shrugged, "Everyone here knows I just called you an idiot." "You?" Zhou Wenbin's face turned slightly sinister. This punk who just came out of nowhere actually barged into our meeting room and called me an idiot in front of all my superiors and managers. Security! Security! Zhou Wenbin suddenly yelled, "Take this garbage out." Hearing the explosive anger from the meeting room, the few security guards on standby quickly surrounded the teenager again. "What are all of you just standing there for? Didn't you hear what I just said?" Zhou Wenbin glared at the guards. The teenager shook his head. He didn't even bother to glance at Zhou Wenbin's commotion and instead, directed his gaze at the man in the main seat, Chu Hongguang. It's been said that Worldwide Entertainment's chairman, Chu, has extraordinary courage, but what a pity it was all hearsay. It turned out that in the board meetings, it's actually a nobody manager who calls the shots. It's been quite the eye-opener today. An apathetic smile appeared on the teenager's flawless face. Unknown. Zhou Wenbin was nearly driven to his death by anger. Chu Hongguang furrowed his brows. He shot Zhou Wenbin a look before he turned to the security guards and ordered, "All of you, get lost." After the security guards left, Zhou Wenbin gritted his teeth, "Chairman Chu, this guy, he..." But this time, Chu Hongguang waved him off and interrupted him before he could finish. Zhou Wenbin noticed that Chu Hongguang didn't look too happy, so he had no choice but to keep his anger in. He'd been provoked by this little punk just now, which messed with his mind. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone beyond his authority and called for security. "Chairman Chu, with Worldwide Entertainment's current predicament, do you think Emperor Sky needs to send someone over to gather information?" the teenager asked in return. Chu Hongguang pondered about it and did not respond. It was just as this man had said, with the current situation at Worldwide Entertainment, everyone knew that no matter what, it was impossible for them to reverse their fortunes, so there was no need for Emperor Sky to send spies. "What's your name, young man? What advice do you have, coming all the way to my Worldwide Entertainment?" Chu Hongguang asked plainly. "Your humble servant goes by the name Yi Bai. I can't tell you what my motive is," the teenager said as his smile gradually faded away. "I'm here today just to make a deal with your company. The bargaining chip is proving Han Xianyu's innocence and eradicating all negative influences on Worldwide Entertainment as a result of this incident. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon." Upon hearing the teenager's so-called bargaining chip, everyone in the meeting room was taken aback, including the main person involved, Han Xianyu. He didn't look as calm as before. Han Xianyu finally raised his head slowly with a mixed expression in his blank and numb eyes as he looked in the direction of the teenager. Zhou Wenbin gave a contemptuous look, "What a joke. Who do you think you are?" Fei Yang was stunned for a moment before he retorted, "Zhou Wenbin, the boss hasn't even said a word, yet you're over here being a pain. Are you scared someone's able to prove Xianyu's innocence?" Zhou Wenbin sneered, "Fei Yang, I think you've lost your mind. This incident is all because of the pressure from the public. Even Worldwide doesn't have the ability to prove Xianyu's innocence, yet you think this guy can change the public's view? Who on earth is he?" Although what Zhou Wenbin said wasn't nice, Fei Yang knew he was right and kept silent. The teenager was unbothered about Zhou Wenbin. He looked at Chu Hongguang and said very calmly, Chairman Chu, since worldwide is at its wit's end, why not give it a try? If you win, obviously the outcome would be favorable, but even if you don't, there's nothing to lose. There would be no negative impact on worldwide, right? Chu Hongguang considered the offer for a moment before finally responding, Mr. Yi, right? I don't care who you are, but if you really can deliver what you mentioned and solve this crisis, then worldwide would thank you indefinitely. But if you're here to cause trouble, then... Chu Hongguang didn't finish his sentence, but everyone could see the warning and threat in his eyes. The teenager smiled slightly like he didn't notice the intimidation in Chu Hongguang's eyes. Chairman Chu's a straightforward man. You'll find out very soon whether what I said is the truth or not. Oh. How would I find out? Chu Hongguang raised his brows. The teenager laughed, within 7 days, I can prove Han Xianyu's innocence. 7 days? A hint of suspicion appeared on Chu Hongguang's face. Zhou Wenbin's expression changed and he suddenly stood up, pointing at the teenager. Even if we let you give it a go, you can just tell us directly what great abilities you have. Why do you need to beat around the bush? I think you're just bluffing and putting on a show. When he finished speaking, Zhou Wenbin turned to look at Chu Hongguang and said, Chairman Chu, we really don't know where this person came from. He's so young, who knows what exactly his intentions are? How can we trust the words of a person like him so easily? Chu Hongguang furrowed his brows. His head was aching badly from all the squabbling around him. While he was still deep in thought, a hoarse voice suddenly interrupted the silence. I trust him. In the meeting room, everyone was startled and immediately turned towards the source of the voice. And they realized that the person who spoke was actually the droopy-eyed and silent Han Xianyu. Han Xianyu lifted his head and his haggard eyes met the glistening eyes of the teenager. He took a deep breath, stood up, and scanned the people around him. His gaze finally stopped at Chu Hongguang, Chairman Chu, I trust him. Everybody had abandoned him, but now, there was one person who stood up and wanted to prove his innocence. Chu Hongguang's expression was somewhat mixed. Han Xianyu hadn't said a word since the start and this was the first comment he made. Chu Hongguang sighed, all right then, Xianyu, it's not like the company doesn't want to help you. If this friend here really has an idea that works, I'll give him my fullest support. After that, Chu Hongguang turned to the teenager, what do you need us to do? The corners of the teenager's lips curled upwards slyly, watch a show. When everyone heard how arrogant the teenager was, they started talking amongst themselves with doubt and mockery. Chu Hongguang laughed, you're very confident, young man. Tell me your conditions. The teenager glanced around, should I discuss my conditions with just Chairman Chu or everyone else too? Understanding the hint behind the teenager's words, Chu Hongguang waved and ended the meeting, forcing everyone out of the room. Before he left, Zhou Wenbin paused in front of the teenager and glared sternly at him. Damn it, this issue was almost finalized but this guy messed everything up. I have to wait and see what tricks he has up his sleeve. After a while, there was only the teenager and Chu Hongguang left in the meeting room. Please continue. Chu Hongguang lit a cigar. The teenager sat on the leather chair opposite and went straight to the point. Firstly, I would like a job opportunity at Worldwide. Chu Hongguang replied very frankly, that's easy. If you're really able to help Han Xianyu get over this crisis, Worldwide would naturally want a talent like you. What else? The teenager was silent for a second before continuing, secondly, I would like a property under Chairman Chu's name. Chu Hongguang took a drag on his cigar and raised his brows slightly, a property under my name? Which property are you referring to, my friend? The teenager concealed the darkness in his eyes and replied in a composed manner, Golden Seas. Hearing the teenager demands, Chu Hongguang paused. Young chap, you really know how to pick them. Previously, after Yi Xiaoting went bankrupt, even the old house was auctioned off by the court. In order to deal with this arch-enemy of his, Chu Hongguang bought this particular property as his spoil of war. The teenager smiled. The district is priceless, any normal person would ask for it too. Chu Hongguang indicated that he understood. Sure, not a problem. Upon getting a positive response from the chairman, the teenager was much more relaxed as he stood up. Then, Chairman Chu, I wish us success in our cooperation. That's right. I will wait for your good news then. After they were done chatting, Chairman Chu courteously got someone to walk the teenager out. It was only when Yuanwan left the building of worldwide entertainment that her tense nerves started to relax. She casually loosened her collar and let out a sigh of relief. Even though there were some twists and turns, she was glad that the deal was on. After all, it was her first time being a man. She was extremely nervous before she went over, but once she was there, she naturally got into character. In her past life, she found out that she was an expert in imitating many different types of people. In this life, after she read many professional books, her imitation skills improved. This innate skill of hers was, without a doubt, extremely advantageous. Yuanwan was getting ready to return home when the hoarse voice of a man suddenly came from behind her. Mr. Yi Bai, please wait. Yuanwan stopped in her tracks and turned towards the person. Mr. Han. Han Xianyu had always been dazzling and attractive in public, and he was always the confident Han Xianyu in people's eyes. But at this moment, his handsome face was haggard and lethargic, his eye bags were also stained with dark shadows like dark clouds blocking the sun. The second Han Xianyu met the teenager's eyes, he was taken back. Under the gleaming sunshine, the teenager's skin was as fair as snow, his unbuttoned collar revealed his delicate collarbones and his bright eyes seemed to be the reflection of the stars in the galaxy, forcing him to keep his eyes glued to him. With the teenager's looks, he would stand out even if you put him in a sea of beauties from the showbiz. Compared to his own looks, this teenager wasn't inferior at all. With such a beautiful face, he didn't even have a hint of frivolousness or sissiness, there was an unrestrained severity in his eyes and the careless arrogance from his eyes showed he was a man of great charm. Han Xianyu stood in front of the teenager, his fists clenched tightly. No matter what your intentions are or why you're helping me, thank you for believing me. The teenager smiled. The intensity in his eyes lessened like a haze was dispersing. Don't mention it. My friend's a fan of yours. She really likes you and so do I. Even after hearing so many compliments like this, Han Xianyu experienced an inexplicable feeling just like he had when he just made his debut, like the first time he was recognized by his fans on the streets, and his glacial heart slowly melted in their warmth. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. On the way back, Yuanwan went past a florist shop. Initially, she wanted to have a meal with Si Han after the negotiation, but when she woke up this morning, Si Han had already left for work, so she wasn't able to ask him. To prevent a volcano from erupting, she must never forget to pacify him on a daily basis. Hello, welcome. In the florist shop, a girl in a green dress greeted her as usual when she heard the bell on the door. She subconsciously turned to look at the customer. All she saw was the slender hand of a young gentleman pushing the glass door open. He was dressed in a white shirt and had short, flaxen hair. There were all sorts of flowers in the shop, it was like a secret garden of Eden. The man stepped slowly into the soft and soothing music, and she could faintly discern his facial features between the clusters of flowers. When he went past a bouquet of red roses, the man paused and picked one up. He lowered his fluttery lashes and took a light sniff. The sunlight filtered in through the windows and danced on his delicate face. Even the beautiful rose in his hand couldn't measure up to half his attractiveness and faded into the background to bring out his brilliance. Hello, can you help me wrap up a bouquet of red roses, please? When the low and hoarse voice of the man reached her, the shop assistant was abruptly woken up from her daydream as she looked into the glazed and inquiring gaze of the man. She felt a hot flash on both her cheeks and she hurriedly replied, "Sure, of course. How many would you like, sir?" Yu Wanwan rubbed the petal lightly and thought for a bit before answering, 99 stalks. Sure, I'll get it wrapped up for you. The little shop assistant quickly got down to work while discreetly taking glances and sizing the man up. Oh God. This person's too dashing. He's even better looking than the celebrities on television. I wonder who the lucky girl is who's receiving red roses from this handsome young man. Not to mention it's 99 roses. The little shop assistant's desire for gossip was suddenly fired up. These roses were just flown in this morning, they're very fresh so they'll last for a few more days. Is this wrapping paper okay with you? Lately, this type of vintage wrapping is on trend. If you like it, I'll wrap it up using this, okay? Sure, it looks great, the man nodded. Hearing the man say, looks great, while looking at her, the little shop assistant blushed furiously even though she knew he was referring to the wrapping. After hesitating for a long time, she finally couldn't resist any longer and asked curiously, Sir, is this for your girlfriend? The man shook his head, No, it's not. The little shop assistant was surprised, Not for your girlfriend? It's not for his girlfriend? Then it must be for a girl you fancy, right? The little shop assistant speculated. She was even more curious as she mumbled, the girl must be super beautiful since even a handsome man like you has to chase her. When the man heard that, he seemed to suddenly have a thought as the corners of his lips curled upwards, that's right, she's indeed a beauty. The little shop assistant's eyes lit up instantly, I was right. The little shop assistant was green with envy as she tried picturing how beautiful the girl looked when the man interrupted her thoughts, but she's not the girl I fancy. The little shop assistant was slightly stupefied, then she is. My boyfriend, the man replied. The little shop assistant. What did I just hear? Boyfriend. The little shop assistant who was wrapping the bouquet suddenly stood there dumbfounded as if she just got struck by lightning. After at least 10 seconds had passed, the little shop assistant regained her senses from the shock. This exceedingly good-looking man in front of me, actually swings that way. The little shop assistant's teenage heart was a little shattered. The little shop assistant stitched her teenage heart back together with great difficulty and realized her reaction was too obvious and hurriedly apologized, sorry. I forgot my manners. It's fine, Yu Wanwan laughed, not taking it to heart. When the little shop assistant saw the smile on his face, her heart palpitated with more eagerness, the heart she just put together shattered once again. Why do all the good-looking men have a boyfriend already? After Yu Wanwan left the florist, she called Su-yi. Hello, housekeeper Su, is ninth master at Jean Garden or in the office? Office, he's having a meeting. Does he have anything on tonight? There's nothing scheduled on his itinerary. Then is it a convenient time for me to go over to see him now? Yu Wanwan asked. That. Ms. Yi, please hold on, I'll check with ninth master. Su-yi was slightly taken aback by Yu Wanwan's words. After all, this was the first time Yu Wanwan took the initiative to ask for ninth master voluntarily. As she hated her relationship with ninth master being known, she never appeared in public with him. Shortly after, Su-yi returned to the call, Ms. Yi, you may come over, just let the secretary know your name. Alright, thanks. At the C Corporation, hello, may I have your name, please? Do you have an appointment? People who visited the company were mostly businessmen, so when a fresh and handsome young man appeared before her with a big bouquet of red roses in his hand, the female secretary's eyes couldn't refrain from sparkling. My surname's Yi, I'm looking for Chairman C. I made an appointment with Mr. Su earlier, Yu Wanwan replied. So you're Mr. Yi. The little secretary had just been informed of this appointment by Su-yi, so she quickly got up invitingly, but she felt somewhat doubtful in her heart. Didn't Special Assistant Su say it was a girl? He was probably too busy and made a mistake, huh? But judging by the looks of the man, he didn't seem like he was there to talk business. Rather, he looked like a boyfriend picking up his girlfriend from work. If such a handsome boyfriend waited for me with a bouquet of roses. At that moment, there was a ding, and the elevator door opened. The female secretary retracted her gaze from this man's stunning face and recovered her professionalism before speaking. "Mr. Yi, Chairman C is having a meeting now. I'll have to trouble you to wait in the guest room." Yi Wanwan nodded. "Sure." Ms. Secretary was about to lead him to the guest room. Alas, the two of them merely walked a couple of steps when they saw a group of people walking out of the meeting room. Heading towards them was their boss, dressed in a full black Western suit with a cold and rigid face. Following behind was senior management. Everyone had a solemn expression. Si Yihan's body was turned sideways, listening to Su Yi's report, but he realized that his own subordinate stopped speaking all of a sudden. The man furrowed his brows and looked at Su Yi. Then he noticed that Su Yi was staring at something ahead with the life drained out of his face. Si Yihan followed Su Yi's gaze, but all he saw was the female secretary standing there, and beside her was. Seeing the young man with a bouquet of red roses in his hands next to the secretary, Si Yihan's pupils constricted instantly. As their boss suddenly stopped in his tracks, the senior management following behind him stopped too and took note of the scene before them at the same time. Under all these stares, the teenager, dressed in a white-collared shirt who looked as clear as the morning dew and was holding a bouquet of red roses in his hand, started walking in their direction one step at a time. The teenager paused right in front of Si Yihan. He had lips that were even more tender and lovelier than the roses, his twinkling eyes were slightly covered by his flax-colored hair and invited the smiles of everyone present as his melodious voice flowed smoothly. "Chairman C, may I have the honor of inviting you for dinner? Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon." The group of senior management, little secretary, in the dead silence, there seemed to be the rustling of a cold wind blowing. "Did their boss just get hit on by a guy?" Su Yi, who was standing right next to Si Yihan, nearly spewed blood out of his mouth when he saw Yi Wanwan dressed as a man. Although he already knew Yi Wanwan was going to disguise herself as a man, he never expected this woman would actually go to this extent. It was still that stunningly beautiful face, only her makeup, hairstyle and style of dress switched. The feeling she exuded completely changed, but it didn't look out of sorts at all. The female version of Yi Wanwan was beautiful, but she had a weak, repressed and even ethereal kind of beauty, while the male version of Yi Wanwan gave off confidence and sharpness as if her power poured out in magnificent torrents. Anyway, her gender had nothing to do with her attractiveness. Of course, all this is beside the main point. The main point is that you're here dressed as a man, so in everyone's eyes, you're a man. As a man, how could you hold a bouquet of flowers and say such things to another man? He didn't need to think to find out what these people were thinking about. This woman, Yi Wanwan, has gone too far this time. Master would never agree to this, he would never agree. He might even lock her back up. As Su Yi had that thought in his head, he saw that his icy cold master with frost on his face looking at the teenager with indifferent eyes, but then, he took the roses from the teenager's hand, expressionless. Su Yi, mother. What did I just see? Master. Are you nuts? When Su Yi saw his own master accepting those flaming red roses from Yi Wanwan's hands, it felt as if his heart had gone through a tsunami. Suddenly, a loud bang resounded. It came from the head of finance behind him, who just dropped the huge stack of financial reports on the floor. Even that little secretary who brought Yi Wanwan in had her eyes opened so wide that her eyeballs were nearly falling out. Master. I didn't know you swing that way. Even the last king Yu of Zhou didn't tease his nobles like that. How do you expect me to clean this mess up for you? A certain someone who was almost breaking down racked his brains to think of how to deal with the aftermath for his master. He quickly turned to every shocked person to explain, cough cough, this is a friend of boss, an ethnic Chinese from country M. He grew up overseas, so he's more open and likes to joke around, ha, ha ha. Everyone turned to look at each other. Is that so? There's actually a person who dares to joke around like that in front of boss? Yu Wanwan actually had the mind to take a little revenge on Si Han but didn't expect that he would really accept her flowers in front of everybody, even she was quite surprised. However, she couldn't deny that the contrasting image of Si Han's glacial face that would never melt in 10,000 years and a bouquet of red roses bright as blood in his hands, was indeed quite dazzling. What? Seeing that Yu Wanwan kept staring at him, Si Han shot a questioning gaze over. Yu Wanwan regained her senses from the lovely feast before her, but her eyes didn't leave Si Han's body as she muttered, "Nothing, I got drunk while admiring the beautiful flowers, just lost my senses for a bit." But everyone saw that her eyes were glued on Si Han and not the flowers. Everybody at the scene. After leaving the company building, Yu Wanwan's wild, ruthless, tyrannical, and cool behavior abruptly disappeared like a punctured balloon. "Baby, can we come to an agreement?" Yu Wanwan probed. Si Han's bony fingers lightly brushed against the dewdrops on the red petals of the bouquet in his arms. "Agreement about what?" Yu Wanwan replied meekly, "Agree about whether we could go out another day instead." As expected, Si Han's expression immediately turned cold. Yu Wanwan quickly explained, "It's not that I want to flake out on you. At first, I was prepared to treat you to a romantic candlelight dinner, but I just remembered that I used the last of my savings on this bouquet." Truly, zoangbility leads to liability. Upon hearing that she used the last of her savings to buy that bouquet, Si Han's face warmed up slightly. Yu Wanwan seemed to be deep in thought as her eyes glistened. She continued, "But if you're willing to treat me, then we can go ahead, or if you could just pass me the money directly, that'd be even better." Si Han, go home. Yu Wanwan, baby, you won't be able to woo any girls with your EQ. At this point, isn't the right action supposed to be throwing his credit card at her and allowing her to spend it any way she wants? Si Han could probably guess what she was thinking as he glanced sideways at her and replied indifferently, "A man turns evil when he's rich." Yu Wanwan had black lines all over her head. She thought her acting was already top-notch. It seemed like there was someone else whose acting skills were even better than hers. "The great devil is indeed the great devil. His taste is unwavering. He still accepts me even when I'm dressed like a man." Night time at a certain high-class apartment. This was the dormitory that Worldwide Entertainment arranged for their employees. As the addresses of many of Han Xianyu's properties had been leaked, reporters surrounded every one of them, so he had to move here. At this moment, the lights in the house were all switched off. The huge living room was chilly and the only sound came from the television. Han Xianyu sat on the sofa in front of the TV. Under the slight glow from the screen, his handsome face looked sickly pale. The TV had entertainment news on, and in the background was his villa where he used to live. The entrance was packed with a raging group of people with a female reporter reporting at the scene. The court session for the case of Han Xianyu sexually harassing a little girl will begin in the next few days. As this case is very disturbing, it has received the attention of countless civilians. The father of the victimized girl stated that he would hold a press conference in 2 days' time to provide more details about the case. Where we're at now is Han Xianyu's current residence, but the door has been tightly shut this whole time, and Worldwide Entertainment, including Han Xianyu himself, have not made any positive responses to this incident. We learned from the girl's father that Han Xianyu contacted him privately to bribe him with money so that he would withdraw his lawsuit and lie to the press. However, the girl's father refused. The fall of an outstanding idol to a pedophile who refuses to admit to his heinous crime. A truth like this is really distressing. The manager, Fei Yang, brought some pills and a cup of water and looked over at Han Xianyu nervously. He reminded him, "Xianyu, don't watch all this news. Have you forgotten what the doctor told you? You have to stay home and rest now, and don't watch or listen to anything. I'll update you if anything comes up." You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.